Our new partner who I'm really, really excited to announce we are working with. Super, super stoked. Thank you, Angie Huberman, for this connect. It's incredible. AG1 Athletic Greens. I've been using them for a while. I have them every morning on an empty stomach. Basically, take one scoop and you put it into a cup or glass or mug of 8 ounces of cold water. And this is all your greens for the day. You're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Every day I take this. It's so good for my digestion, my energy. It's simple. It's easy. I don't like taking a lot of vitamins. This has been really, really helpful for me. I've had a lot of stomach issues my whole life, and ever since I've been gluten-free and taking the AG1s, it's really helped me in my stomach in the mornings. I love it. I'm so psyched that they're part of the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm sure a lot of people don't like eating greens, let alone drinking your greens, but I can tell you straight up, it's got a mild tropical taste, and the taste is actually really refreshing, and I really look forward to it each morning. Don't think it's just going to be just straight bland. It tastes really, really good, and it's good for you, so remember that. This one blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. It's incredible, just one scoop, especially for musicians who are vegans or just musicians in general who want to get those daily greens. You can get the packets. It's incredible. I just gave some to my friend Derek from Sepultura. He traveled the whole entire world this summer, and he had those every single day. He said it saved him. I bring AG1s with me when I travel. It helps me stay healthy. You know the deal. If you're on tour and you are a picky eater, but you need to have your greens, sometimes catering doesn't have greens. Sometimes you miss the catering. Sometimes you miss the backstage food. Sometimes it's too late after the show to go get food that you like. So if you just have a scoop of AG1s in your hotel room before you go to bed, or you're in the hotel room at night and you're starving and you want something healthy, boom, life changer. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with some convenient daily nutrition. That's all you need, one scoop in a cup every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. This is it. I'm super psyched. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/OLLC. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/OLLC to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. This is incredible. I love it. It's just basic greens. For me personally, this has changed my life tremendously. I'm not a junk food vegan. I don't eat a lot of fake meats, so I'm strictly greens. And this has been a wonderful, wonderful new addition to my life. So once again, visit athleticgreens.com/OLLC. and get 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. athleticgreens.com/OLLC. Yo, Liquid Death, thank you so much for hydrating all my guests, taking care of me and my family and my friends. Love your water, love your brand, love what you stand for, love what you give back to the community. If you want to learn more about Liquid Death and how it started, listen to episode 115 with the co-founder, owner, and creator of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario. Just a punk rock skateboarding kid from Delaware with a dream. It's an incredible story, incredible journey. They have now blessed me with my own code. So if you go liquiddeath.com/Toby, you get free shipping on any items you order from liquiddeath.com. Thank you so much, Liquid Death. Death to plastic, murder your thirst. Stay hydrated. You know H2O saves lives. Welcome to the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today, I got my brother back from tour next to me. My big brother, Derek Green. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Toby.
I guess I'm your big brother because I'm like...
Sound like you forgot your name for a second.
No, yeah. Hell no. Derek. I never.
Or sometimes Chappelle.
No, I never say your full name. I don't know why I called you big brother because I'm older than you by a couple.
You are.
You're 1971.
I'm 71.
And I'm 1970.
That's right.
Well, welcome back, Derek. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me back.
And then my guest today, I've been talking to this guy for a very long time about coming on the pod, and life gets in the way, and I love him and his family. So please welcome to the podcast. Dave Kushner. Do I say David or Dave? I say David or Dave?
Either one.
You prefer Dave or David?
I like Dave.
Dave. Okay.
Because my parents call me David.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those earphones working all right?
I was just going to turn it down. Can I turn my volume down a little?
Those two right there, yeah. You have full control over there.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for letting me in.
And there's only been a couple of people on the podcast who are actually LA natives that's been on this podcast.
That's true.
And this guy's LA native.
Yes.
Born and bred.
Yes.
Born and bred.
Born and raised.
Born
Third
and raised.
generation.
So where were you born? You born in Hollywood? Where were you born?
I was born at Kaiser Permanente.
That's the place we was talking about, the hospital Max was talking about by
Yeah,
the school.
Kaiser.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sunset in Vermont.
Nice.
My parents met at LACC
Okay.
on Vermont. My whole history is Vermont.
Yeah.
Like we we lived across the street from LACC. My parents met at LACC. I was born in Kaiser. I went to Barnsdall Art School, which is right off Vermont.
Yeah.
And then we lived on First in Vermont. And then I would take the bus on Vermont to go to Fairfax and Bancroft.
Fairfax High you went to?
Yeah.
Very famous school.
Very so famous.
And, but so many but so
It's
many
weird
skate
to
videos.
like talk to you and like sitting right
I know.
across from you, like looking at me.
Yo, but so many skate videos there too. That's where those famous stairs are at, right? Is that Hollywood
They're very
High?
yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of
that is
skate
Hollywood
videos go
High.
on
Yeah.
there. A lot of people that went on to do things in music and
True,
arts and
very
everything.
true, very
True.
true.
They have the
True.
murals on the side. Is that the one like pictures of the people on the
Yes.
side? Yeah.
Yep.
Correct?
Yeah. mhm.
Yep. That's it.
And did you go to school with Slash? Did he went to school there too?
Yes, I did. We went
Wow.
to junior high and high school together. And he was one grade ahead of me.
Wow.
But we hung out.
And do you have any siblings?
I do not.
Only child.
What was the Hollywood, or what was the mascot for your high school?
For Fairfax?
Yeah.
That's
The
a great
Lions.
random question. I want to know.
I believe it's a Lions. Fairfax Lions.
Fairfax Lions.
And so how was it growing up? How were you growing up? You're your only child,
Yeah.
right? And how was it going to school? How was it growing up in LA?
It was awful. No, it was fine. You know, it was
Yeah.
like I lived down on First in Vermont. I went to this elementary school called Pilgrim. That was
know
over.
that.
Oh, you know where it was, dude? You remember the CNA building with the thing in front that
I think
people used
so.
to skate?
Yeah, I do
They used to
remember that,
always, it went like this and it went like that. It was like, and there would always, in Skateboarder Magazine and Thrasher, there was always pictures.
Okay.
Kids skating in there. My school was right across the street.
Yeah, you were like in all the skate areas.
So I went to school there. I don't know. It was fine. You know?
Yeah.
Regular childhood. My parents got divorced when I was like 3.
Oh,
But
What were,
my
what were
dad,
their professions?
my dad, what did my dad do? I mean, he's retired. He was a public defender forever.
Okay.
Nice.
But I think then he taught like 6th grade somewhere in South Central. Like,
Okay.
And just had weird. Then he worked at the racetrack for like
Nice.
10 years taking tickets. My grandfather worked there for like 40 years.
Wow.
So we would go, like they would do Hollywood Park, Santa Anita, and every summer they'd go to Del Mar. So every summer I would go to Del Mar with my dad and my grandparents and hang out and shit.
Del Mar Skate Park too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Famous.
Yeah, I went there when I was a kid.
You did, yeah. So
Yeah.
you skated, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to go to Marina and
So how were you in school?
awesome. So good. No, you know what? I was great until when I was like in 5th grade, we moved to DC for
Nice.
2 years. My parents, my mom got remarried. We moved there. Then my mom got divorced again. So me and my mom moved back
Wow,
to that
okay.
house on Vermont. And then everything like kind of went downhill when junior high started. Cause I don't know why. I just started drinking and like
In junior
smoking
high?
weed. Yeah.
Wilding out.
In 7th grade.
Damn.
And by the time I was in like 9th grade, I think the summer between 8th and 9th is when I was like, there was this place off of Melrose and like Van Ness. It was like a punk rock hair salon.
Okay.
It was like
That's amazing.
I know it was just this, I forget what it's called.
Mohawks only.
Yeah. And so I went there and, you know, I'm like, oh, I want a punk rock haircut, you know,
Oh, my God.
and they, you know, and I had a tail
Sick.
and it was like bleached and like
course you
spiky
did.
hair. And that was it. And then I met, all these dudes from that band Mad Society, the
Okay.
like kid punk band.
Yeah.
So then and they all went to Bancroft where I went. So then
Okay.
we were all friends and then going into middle school. And then, so it was all downhill from there.
How'd you find out about punk rock? Like, what was your exposure to it?
I don't really know, to be honest. There was no like defining moment. It was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I got into like, you know, I grew up listening to like Sabbath and Zeppelin and all
Yeah.
those things. And then I got into like, somehow I got into like Devo and B-52s and that's like kind of the gateway.
Yeah.
the gateway drug into punk rock. And then, you know, but then it just got into like, when I met those kids, Mad Society kids, it was all then it was regular like Circle Jerks, Black Flag, because
Yeah.
everyone was playing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that was when the Starwood was still open, and they had shows every Tuesday, and we go see. I was laughing because I saw you the other day at Circle Jerks.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I remember the first time I saw Circle Jerks at the Starwood, I was like, I had the record already, and I was like, oh, they played Red Tape, and I'm like, oh, I'm going in, and I ran in and like got punched right in the eye, and I just like walked around with a cup of ice on my eye all night, like, oh yeah, it's pretty cool, I guess.
You know what's crazy about Red Tape? Like now, if I was going to try to go into the pit, like from the other night to
Right.
Red Tape, by the time I made it to the pit, the song would be over because it's so fast.
Super fast.
And it's a big crowd. Like that was a crazy pit the other night.
And you're old, so
yeah,
it's like
crazy.
You're old as
Yeah,
hell.
take slow. You'd have to hold the rail when
Absolutely.
you're going down from the VIP
Yeah.
section.
True.
Yeah.
my wife went in the pit for 7 seconds. She was crazy.
She was in the pit like the whole show almost, like with no earplugs.
What's incredible is to know that like I got to see them on Group Sex as well on the East Coast.
Right.
Was that like 85 or something? Whatever, 84, 85? Yeah, it was like one of the first out-of-town bands I ever saw in Rhode Island was Circle Jerks. But fast forward to 2022, we're seeing 7 Seconds and Circle Jerks still playing, dude. It's fucking
It's
amazing.
insane.
Dude.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I mean,
In
that
their
experience is
60s.
crazy. It's a crazy. I mean, the Hollywood Palladium is such a iconic
Legendary place.
But it was my first show there, and I didn't realize
This
that
was Friday?
Yeah,
Oh, wow, it's cool.
I didn't realize the sound was that bad.
Oh yeah, it sucks, dude.
And so I was like, nobody told me that. Like
Yeah.
they're like, oh no, that's just common. Like I talked to every LA person, like, oh yeah, it's always been
Even
bad.
maybe because where we were standing or if we were
No.
down on the soundboard? Okay.
No. I
It's
found
so
out
crazy. It's like
bad
historically, like the Forum
Right.
and the Palladium. Like if you're born and raised here, that's like someday I'm gonna play the Forum
Yeah.
or the
Okay.
Palladium. But they're the two worst sounding venues in LA.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's
After
it's
all
terrible.
those years, I thought they would.
Is it because it's like echoing there? I don't really know. It's such a huge place.
I know people have tried to watch it from top, the other
Yeah.
side, front.
Yeah.
It's all bad.
The top's better because
Yes.
it's not so fucking loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, the drums are like
So I thought
bouncing
it was
all
like,
around the
man,
room.
I was
know.
like, this is too loud for me. I'm just old. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, then shows with Motorhead. It's like loud, but at least
Yeah.
you can hear it, kind of.
Yeah. Did you have earplugs on too?
No, that's right. It was in the parking lot.
I saw
like,
Feldy, dude. I ran into Feldy, and he's like,
amazing.
"Dude, you want earplugs?" The first thing he said to me, I'm like, "Yes." And he
It's-
fucking
so it
had
just
one
wasn't me.
foam earplug and had tear it in half. And put it in.
Yeah, there's so many connections here too with Feldy. Obviously, your wife Chris was on the podcast.
Yeah.
Also, Joey C. There's so many connections with you. Like it's such a
yeah.
small world, man. One more historic thing about Palladium is there's a famous scene from Blues Brothers, and that's at the
Yes.
Palladium.
Yeah.
That's right.
Pretty amazing.
Your wife pointed that out.
One of the greatest movies. Okay,
Greatest
so
movies.
so back to Dave.
Yes.
So exposure to punk rock was that band. You're hanging out with those guys. You're skating. You're
Yes.
your only child.
Bad
You're kind of
crowd.
wilding out. What are your goals at that time in school? Like,
Goals.
did you want to do music? Do you thinking about being
Do you
a
have
musician?
goals that
don't
when you're
know.
15?
Would you
Come
wanna-
on, Toby.
Yeah, that's a good
No, I'm
point.
just kidding.
I still don't have
That-
goals. That's a good point. But did you want to play music? When did that happen?
No.
Like, how young were you?
You know what's funny? I had no interest in playing music until I was like 14 or 15. I just wanted to be an artist.
That's a goal. That's a goal at 14 and 15. Play
Okay,
music.
okay.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Okay.
You know what? Actually, to answer your question, I wanted to be a graphic artist
There
Okay.
you go.
when I was like
Okay.
growing up, because all I did was draw and
Yeah.
take art lessons, and I did some like summer session at Otis Parsons. Like I was really into drawing and stuff. But then when I met those because I had tried to play guitar at Fairfax, they had like guitar class, but
Okay.
you couldn't use a pick. You know, they're like, oh, you have to use your fingers. And I was like, I'm not doing this. And I tried to learn Stairway to Heaven. I couldn't play; it was too hard. And I'm
Sick.
like, fuck it, I'm not gonna play guitar.
Yeah.
So then I was in a band,
Electric or acoustic?
acoustic, like,
Oh, okay. I was gonna
and
say
then
electric
I
or
tried
no
to learn, and then I started singing actually in
Wow.
punk bands with those guys from Mad Society, because Mad Society had just broken up. So then we played. Like, it's funny. I have this friend of mine, Gabby, and she's like, "Oh, I was at this show. It was Bard's Apollo."
Is this Gabby with tattoos?
Yeah, Gabby O'Neill.
Yeah, my wife knows. Okay.
Yeah, I actually, one of the first show I ever played in a band was at this club called Bard's Apollo, opening for Wasted Youth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
And
and
Joey C was in the band then? Wasted
he
Youth?
wasn't in the
Okay,
band.
okay.
No, he was in later, and then I came in after him. But yeah, that And then the girl in Mad Society, Kathy, actually taught me how to play bar chords. And then that's when, I was like, oh, wait, I can just do this one shape and move it around and play like any song. She's like, yeah. And so that's how I got into playing.
Okay.
And then I was smoking and drinking a lot, and I would take acid and like
in school.
Yeah, no, yeah, I did a couple times in school actually.
So was it just you live with your mom at that time?
Yeah, just me. And
Did
my
she
mom.
know that you were wilding out like that? Was she like?
I think she maybe had some suspicions, but I remember times where all those guys, Mad Society, lived right across the street from Okie Dogs.
Okay.
So we used to hang out there like
Famous
after
spot.
shows and do all that. But that was in Hollywood, and I lived down on First in Vermont. So I would have to take like 2 buses home. Mm-hmm. So I would do that. But there was times where, my mom would be like, you need to come home right now. And I'd come home and I'd be like, I remember one time I was like on acid, just so tripping, dude. Like just sitting in my house, like just hold it together. Just hold it together. And like try not to look anyone in the eyes and just like, I'm just going to go in my room. Oh, I don't really feel well. I did all kinds of dumb shit when I was a kid.
Was she strict about grades and stuff like that in school? Or
not really, because, I don't know. Maybe because she was single kind of at that point and in high school, and she had started dating this other dude, and she was really into the arts. Like she worked at all these what are they called? Like all these places downtown and in East LA where they work with like East LA artists and graphic artists and all these places, these nonprofits, doing this one place called Self-Help Graphics that's actually still there in East LA that was there. And then she ended up working for the National Endowment for the Arts, giving out the grants. So
that's cool.
So like if you had a playhouse or a ballet company or whatever, you'd send her these applications. So she was all into that.
Yeah.
And I remember she had this receptionist that was like friends with Leaving from Fear.
Wow.
So she was kind of cool that way, and she wasn't too strict. Yeah. And at a certain point, I think she just kind of accepted like who I was, Toby. She accepted me.
Did you make it out of school? Did you graduate?
So when I got into playing guitar, I got really obsessive about it. And, I was in 11th grade and I wasn't going. Like I would take the bus to my friend Louie's house, who was a bass player in Mad Society. We would drink, and then we would go to school, or we'd just ditch school. So I was like, and then I remember at one point it wasn't me, but some friend of ours stole like they had these boxes, and you would, if you had like a absence slip, you would stamp it in that box, like a time card thing. Yeah. And so someone I knew stole that and a bunch of slips. So we would just have all these slips, and we would go in and go to class and get them signed.
Wow.
And then finally, because we wouldn't go to class, or we'd ditch class, or we'd go to Canners in the morning and not go to first period. And then by the time we got caught, it was like, well, he has 72 absences in this class, but he has like 20 in this class. And like, it wasn't, none of it lined up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to go to music school. I'm not going to go to college. I'm a terrible student, whatever. And she was like, all right, if you pass the GED, then you can go to music school. So I went to MI, Musicians Institute, instead of going to 12th grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it was cheap back then. It was like $3,500 or something.
Wow.
Now
it's like you do that. Just leave school and go there. It's cool.
Well, if you get the GED, because it's like the equivalent of a high school diploma. Yeah. But everyone I knew took it, like Slash and Tracy Guns, the guy from LA Guns, went to our school, and the dudes from the Chili Peppers, like everyone. That was like the way that everyone got out early.
Wow.
Without getting too shamed by their
but everybody did something in music too, so it actually worked. You know what I mean? You guys.
Right.
Thank you, Toby.
Did you straighten yourself out when you went to that to focus on music? Or were you still kind of wilding?
No. I was a mess, dude. From that point, it just kind of went downhill steadily till I stopped at 23.
At 23.
Yeah, I was in music school, and the first half I was super into it.
Yeah.
I just fucking, obsessively sat in a room 12 hours a day go to class, play music, go to class, sit there, little practice amp, trying to shred, play scales, you know, and I mean it was killer.
Yeah.
But then I just kept drinking more and more. Like I had one friend there, and we drank a lot, and I remember going home to my house where I lived with my mom, and she came in one day and was like waking me up, and I was face down, but I'd thrown up like all over the bed, and it was like on the floor. You know what I mean? Like then I was just like, this is bad.
Yeah.
Like that's how Hendrix died. Like you know,
Right.
luckily I was on my stomach, and then it just got worse.
Yeah.
You know? So
What was
What-
the first band? Yeah, we're gonna
No,
say.
no, I was gonna say, what was like the breaking point? You said like at
Yeah.
23, you're like, okay, it got to a point.
so
Like,
And you
what
started-
was rock
And
bottom?
you started a record deal at 20 years old, correct?
well, so out of music school, I worked at Tower Video.
Sick.
My friend, who I'd grown up with, this guy John O'Brien, he was friends with Patricia Arquette,
Woo!
who was
My fave.
going out with Paul Rossi, who was the singer in Wasted Youth at the time.
Did not know that.
And somehow
That's amazing.
they, connected to me and were like, because me and John were roommates.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, my roommate, they're like, oh, we need a guitar player. So then that's how I got in Wasted Youth. And then that's where I met Joey, because Joey was playing drums.
Yeah.
And I got switched to bass because they're like, oh, the old guitar player's coming back. You want to play bass? I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
Because I was like, oh, I can drink more and I only have to concentrate on one note at a time, and I can run around more. And so I was into it. And then from there, I met Feldy.
Yeah.
I got in the
Electric Love.
So yeah, we did a record, Wasted Youth.
You did Black Days, right?
Yeah, we did a record.
1988, Yeah.
We didn't really tour. We just played a lot of local shows
Yeah.
and stuff. And which was killer. And at the same time I was playing in this like jam band with called Trulio Disgracious with like all the dudes from Fishbone.
Julio Disgracious.
Yeah, it
All the
was
dudes from-
rad. Fishbone.
That's amazing.
Flea would do it sometimes. John Frusciante, who was just in the Chili
Wow.
Peppers. This
remember
chick,
that.
Vicky Calhoun. India Davenport. It was in Brand New Heavies.
Oh,
It was
wow.
killer,
Love
dude.
Brand New
Yeah.
Heavies. Love Brand New Heavies.
It was
yeah.
fucking. It was, dude. It was so
All-star
rad. Like that was my
lineup.
favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we played shows, or like Billy Bass from Parliament played with us sometimes. I met Eddie Hazel, the guy who played, on fucking Maggot Brain. The
Oh,
guy who
shit.
plays guitar. Like he played with us once, and we'd play all these killer shows. We opened for Public Enemy at USC.
Wow.
We played with Soundgarden at Club Lingerie. We played with Living Color at the
awesome.
Palladium. Like we
Yeah,
played all these
that's
kind of
awesome.
weird shows that were really killer.
Yeah.
And then, but we just drank together, everyone.
Party,
so,
yeah.
so then I got in the Love Hogs.
That was through Feldy?
Yeah, Feldy knew my roommate again, John, and then he was trying to get a different guy, this guy Arik Marshall.
Okay.
He was trying to get him to play guitar, and then my roommate's like, "Oh, why don't you get my roommate? He's available." So I tried out, and
Was he in that band or he was producing that band?
who Feldy?
Yeah.
No, Feldy was the singer in the Love
I
Hogs.
did not know that. Wow, okay.
So, and Feldy I met because he came by my apartment once when he was drunk.
Okay.
Like that was the one time I met him when he was drinking. And so he came by, I got in the band. I tried. No, dude, actually, the story is, so I lived off of Melrose. I'd never heard of the band. I'd kind of heard of them. I didn't know anything about them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to try out. So I walked to the liquor store down on Melrose to get a 40. And I saw Tracy Guns because he lived right around the corner. And I knew him from school. And I was like, yeah, dude. He's like, hey, what's up? I was like, fucking like Green Acres just waving like, hey, what's it? And I'm like, oh, I'm trying out for this band. He's like, oh, Love Hogs. Yeah, they're pretty cool. I was like, okay, cool. And then I just went, So I went and I didn't have a car and I got my 40 and I drank it. And then the drummer from the Love Hogs, this guy, Bobby, and he has an identical twin brother named Fab.
Okay.
And Bobby and Fab were coming to pick me up. And so they came, picked me up. They're like, all right, dude, we got to stop at the Palace, which is now the Avalon.
Yeah, I remember the Palace.
We got to stop at the Palace and we're going to see this band and then we'll go to practice. I was like, okay, cool. And I hadn't done anything with this band. All I did was hear a cassette, of a couple songs.
Yeah.
We go to the Palace and drink and do blow all night.
Wow.
And then they dropped me off and then I passed out at home and then I never played and then I was in the band. Like that, literally, that's how I got in the band, dude.
What band did you go see at the Palace? Do you remember?
It might have been Faster Pussycat.
Okay.
Because they knew, like, the guy they had kicked out of Love Hogs was his cousin was a guitar player or something.
Okay.
And they just wanted to drink and they could get in there free and get free drinks. And I mean, that's how it was like back then. You could go.
So that was your audition?
Yeah. I passed.
Jeez.
I passed the
Okay.
fucking blow
Passed
test.
out.
Passed out.
How old were you then? You like 20 or something?
I was 21,
Wow.
maybe, or 22.
Yeah, and like Electric Love Hogs, they did. That was a
Yeah.
pretty big band. I mean,
There was one album, right?
yeah, but
Yeah.
but I think it's.
We
There was like a video and a song.
We
wasn't
were
there?
on, like, I don't know. We were like close.
I mean,
Yeah.
at that time, it was like a lot of like, what is it, like glam or stuff like that.
Well,
Hollywood, like rock and roll. all
Well,
right.
it's
It
funny
wasn't-
because when I was telling someone the other day, like that was an awesome period also because when I was in Love Hogs, we played with like Tool was just starting, Rage Against the Machine,
Yeah.
Shrinky Dinks, which became
Mark McGrath.
which became
Sugar Ray.
Mighty Joe Young, which became STP.
Oh,
And
wow, that's right.
all these bands, we would all play together at like the Coconut Teaser,
Yeah.
so, and everyone knew each other and everyone would like, and I still like am friendly with, the dudes in Tool and
Yeah.
guys in Rage and all those guys because we all,
Came
no
up
one
together.
knew. We would just play these shitty clubs together,
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was killer for that. Like it was funny because the Love Hogs started to like kind of get bigger because we were kind of like Faith No More-ish.
Yeah.
And I remember there's a flyer that I think Maynard posted it the other day on Instagram of this show where the Love Hogs, we played San Diego at this place Soma, and we headlined and Rage and Tool opened for us.
Wow.
Like on the flyer, it's like our big logo and like underneath it's like Rage Against the Machine and Tool.
That's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, so we, but it was killer, dude. We got signed
Yeah.
to Polygram. We did a record and Tommy Lee produced part of our record.
Okay.
And that was really like the first time we got exposed to like the bigger world of music and I guess success in a sense, just seeing it through Tommy and like
Right.
actually having a little bit of money, we're
Yeah.
like, oh, we'll pay ourselves like $800 a week, or a month, like
That's good back then.
yeah. So, but like Tommy was really great and he kind of took us under his wing and like he was, I think he was with Heather Locklear and they lived, so we'd go to his house and we'd hang out with those two and
Wow.
him and Nikki Sixx took us to the NAMM show and like got us endorsements. Like they were
Sick.
so cool that way.
Dude, that's
And-
amazing.
Yeah, it was fucking
And
killer.
was there like tours set up and everything? Like
Yeah,
they were
we-
gonna do a tour. Like what was the first?
We did a
And
tour.
you'd never toured. before
No.
then. Okay.
That's sick.
No, and what sucked, so then I got sober and it sucked because I never toured drinking. You know what I mean? Like that
Okay.
that was always my
Wow.
dream.
Right. Right.
That was another goal. Was I'm just going to be so awesome when I, get to be on tour and drink and then just wake
Free
up
booze
at
every
like
night.
wake up at like 1 p.m. and just have someone tell me like where to go and like that was really like a kind of mini fantasy of touring.
Wow.
And then it never happened.
But it does. That's the that's
And
crazy.
then
So you went sober. What year was that?
90. Yeah, I was in the band with Feldy. Feldy was in his first year of not drinking.
Okay.
And I was hitting bottom. And
That's
I was
right.
really bad. And
That was your question. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I was just fucking.
It's like what was rock?
Yeah,
bottom
what's
for
Yeah,
you?
20 minutes later, I'm going to answer your question.
But what is
Okay.
bottom?
You'll
but what-
see. That's how
okay.
this.
But what is bottom for you? Like
Bottom was, I mean, honestly, like when I drank, it was fucking fun and awesome. Doing drugs, drinking was great.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't, and then the last year was just like, I would drink every day from the minute I woke up to the minute I passed out.
Damn.
I worked at Tower Video.
Yeah.
I made the signs for the inside of the store.
Okay.
So I would pull in the morning. I'd go to Turner's. I'd buy, like a half pint of vodka and a spicy V8 and a cup of ice. I'd go in my room in the basement, pour that, drink that. They had Cisco at Turner's, and it was the only liquor store this side of like Pico that sold St. Ides when it first came out. Dude, it was the only place.
That's some real elation.
So man. So I had St. Ides, Cisco, and I would just drink all day long. And then
at work.
Because
nobody knew.
Check it out. So there was this girl that worked at Tower Video, and she went on to write that movie Empire Records.
Oh wow,
because
great record.
all that stuff that she wrote in the movie happened at the store. Everyone drank. Everyone did drugs, from the manager that ran the store down. Every single person, except these two girls that were these two goth chicks that were sober. That everyone's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. But everyone drank like in work, at work, downstairs, like everywhere. It was
insane.
awesome.
Wow,
it was killer. And then
you inspired part of that movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, dude, we tried. Yeah, never mind.
What is there a character of you in that movie or no?
No, I don't know. But there's like these guys that like rob the store
in real life. That really happened.
We tried. Me and my friend, who was a manager, would always drink a lot and try and think like, oh, I wonder if we could like take money from the store, like this dumb shit like that. Like. It was so dumb, like back then, because you're making like $6 an hour.
Yeah.
And, you're punk rock. You're like whatever, and you're like you have that mentality. Is kind of you're just it's stuck with you.
Yeah.
I didn't have money growing up, and you'd be like, oh, let's order pizza to the back apartment, and then we'll steal the pizzas out of the guy's thing, or dumb shit like that, or like get drunk and like I remember putting like a 12-pack, come in those cardboard things, and it had the cutouts where the grip was, and I'd put it on my head. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna rob the pizza guy, and people were like, dude, you're an idiot.
Meanwhile, you're on the clock.
Yeah, totally. So
that's fucking
just
crazy.
all dumb shit like that all the time. But yeah. So then it was great. I drank too much, but then it got really bad. I was like, I think the thing is like, you start doing a bunch of shit. Like I think everyone has their own moral compass.
Yeah.
And it's different for everyone, and for me, it was like, I'm not going to cheat on my girlfriend at the time or steal shit from my mom to buy records or get in a car accident or all these things.
But I'll rob a pizza guy.
Yeah. Or rob a pizza guy when I was sober, but then I was doing all those things or trying to when I was drunk. And then I was just like, you wake up and then you're just like, oh, I'm an asshole. And then you drink again, and then you do more shit like that, and then it's just like this shame spiral, basically.
Isn't the come down off of coke? It's pretty heavy and dark. I've seen friends on it. Like the night before is incredible. The next day, you just feel like the most depressed. It's like you're so harsh on yourself.
It depends.
Stuff, yeah.
Like I remember one time smoking it, and like I just remember it was like 6 a.m. And I was like checking my pulse because I thought I was going to have a heart attack. Fuck. And I kept like looking, and the liquor store wasn't open because they opened at 6. And I remember checking my pulse. I'm like, I'm going to have a heart attack. My roommate's asleep and sitting in my living room. And dude, I swear to God, Bob Forrest from Thelonious Monster and Norwood from Fishbone knock on my door at 6 a.m. with a 6-pack of Meisterbrow. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. Like out of nowhere, dude. I was so fucked up. I thought I was imagining it, because you're like, it's 6 a.m. and you hear this, like, and I'm like, is that real?
No. You're like your savior. Is Bob Forrest the guy that went on to do Celebrity Rehab?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's fucking
dude.
Amazing.
Yeah, man. When he was fucked up at the time.
Stella, it's
just me.
Nobody's at the door. You fuck.
I was just kidding.
Wow, that's incredible, man.
Yeah. And
did you quit cold turkey? Was it super hard?
No, I actually
it's all Dave's fault.
Yeah, it's my fault. Sorry, Stella. This is a false alarm. No, and then I just, I just didn't like myself. That's the bottom line. I just constantly doing stuff that wasn't okay, and I hated myself, and I wanted to like unzip my skin and just crawl into a drain pipe and just,
Wow.
be done. Like, I hated myself. And
Do you remember the last day you drank or anything like that?
oh yeah, dude, I was sitting in my living room on my couch trying to drink this Miller Genuine Draft. And
You know that drink?
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, and I couldn't, and I was like, this is the only thing in the world that's going to make me feel okay. Because I had alcohol poisoning and I was like, really sick. And after like 4 days, I was like, oh, I got to drink this beer because it's the only thing in the world that's going to make me feel okay.
Yeah.
Yet I couldn't like keep it down because I was so kind of still sick. So I kept trying to drink it. And I like, and then I just was sitting there like, this is I'm going to live my rest of my life like this. Like,
Yeah.
but yet I couldn't imagine not drinking for the rest of my life. And I called Feldy and I was like, dude, I think I might need to, check out the thing you do or whatever,
Yeah.
And he got it was so rad because he was so excited, he's just like, what? Okay.
I got you.
Yeah, I'm going to come over. I'll take you tomorrow, we'll go. And it's like, I was like, okay. And he's like, okay. So I'm like, what do I do? And he goes, just don't drink tonight. I'm like, I already drank. He's like, just go to sleep. Right. Just go to sleep and fucking wake up tomorrow and I'll take you and we'll go. And that was it.
Wow.
And
That's fucking amazing, man.
Yeah. And I haven't drank since.
Shout out to Feldy. Shout out to you. That's incredible. Since 1990.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
It's pretty awesome.
How old were you then?
23.
23. Cold turkey. That's it. Never again. Nothing.
No, nothing since. Oh, no, that's not true. I smoked weed like 4 days later. And then after like 6 months, I was like, maybe I should change my date that I quit drinking because
of the weed.
I did smoke weed like
Wow.
after 4 days or whatever. So
Yeah.
And then fast forward to now, people, not to get into the thing, but people call it just a California sober thing that I see people talk about. Like, you don't drink, but some people do edibles or they smoke weed now.
Yeah, I heard about
Maybe
this.
later on. I don't know if that counts as
It's a
sober.
slippery slope.
I don't know what that means. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just
think
hear things.
Yeah, I've heard this too. And
But-
I was like, are you serious?
I
was
just
like,
hear things.
But for him-
I hear things.
but for
Things. I
him,
hear
these
things.
His main thing was alcohol and like coke and shit.
No,
but
no, I
but then
get
he
it.
smoked weed. Then he moved his date because he was so serious about it. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Back then, like, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But now I think weed. I never tried. I'm just saying that I hear people say it helps you. All kinds of. I don't fucking know. You
don't
know
know.
what's up. You're a weed guy. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, if you're an addict, I don't think weed or anything would really be helpful.
Yeah.
I don't see that as being.
But
like,
I heard this term.
I like that
California
you say
sober.
helpful.
no, I've heard people say that.
You heard that term?
I'm
That
like-
term. I heard that term.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Do you think if I try and reach that coffee over there with these headphones on that
grab
I
it for you,
bring?
though.
Derek,
Oh, that'd be
Derek
awesome.
got-
That's what I'm
Derek
here
got
for,
you.
grabbing coffees.
But you know what I mean. That's just something
Thanks,
I heard
dude.
later on in life.
No,
But,
thanks,
you know.
man. You know what's funny, dude?
But you
me
didn't
and
do nothing. Yeah.
no, me and Joey C were having this conversation last week.
Okay.
We were talking about I forget who he talked to, and he mentioned California sober, and I was like, like it, it just is like. He goes, he was saying that's a thing, dude. Like it's a real thing, and I was like, really? And I said, I just heard it because Demi Lovato like did it. There was some article where she's like, I'm California sober, and she kind of coined the phrase, and then ever since then.
It becomes
you know what? I hadn't heard it since then.
Okay.
Until Joey C brought it up, and then
Okay.
I was like,
And then I
"Oh
just
yeah, I
brought it
guess
up.
that's yeah." No, I'm like, I guess
never
that's a
heard it.
thing.
I might have heard it in passing, but I didn't think it was serious.
I'm upset that our state represents that. Upsets me.
Yeah.
yeah.
Not really.
Thank
you.
You know,
Okay.
you're not the first person that's on this podcast that has been produced by Tommy Lee. It's come up like 3 times, 3 different people.
Feldy.
Yeah, but somebody else. I'm not sure if it was Shifty or somebody else. Like somebody else has mentioned
Oh, yeah?
Tommy Lee as a producer back then, like
Okay.
involved in different things. That's pretty cool, actually. Okay, so Electric Love Hogs. That record comes out in 1992 on London Records, isn't it? The one.
Yeah, crushes.
Does it
No,
crush?
No, it do it just like.
It's interesting.
Were you guys playing shows and like building up a following?
Crushed the bottom of the ocean where it ended up.
Wow.
No, that's
What was the tour? The first tour? Who was it with?
Oh, dude, our first tour was with Mighty Joe Young.
Wow.
Yeah, in Europe.
In Europe.
Yeah.
First
Which
time in
became Stone
Europe.
Temple Pilots, as you just said, right?
No, that was
was-
My bad.
Wait, did I say Mighty? Sorry, you're right. Ugly Kid Joe.
Ugly Kid
Ooh.
Joe.
Ugly Kid Joe was our first tour because we used to play shows with them in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And they got signed at the same time as we did. We had the same lawyer, and we made records at the same time. and then but their record came out first, and they had that I Hate Everything About You.
Big hit.
Huge.
Yeah, so then we went to Europe and opened for them.
And that was your first time in Europe.
Yeah.
Wow.
First time.
And you're sober.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, man.
Bummer. No, it was cool.
I didn't realize that.
His eyes got big.
I didn't realize that dude
I
sang
know.
for Life of Agony.
Yeah, dude.
I
Yeah.
just saw the documentary.
Yeah.
That was incredible. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. All right, so that tour, you come back from Europe, and then what happens? You guys just touring a lot and shit? You guys doing a lot of shit in the States?
We toured with LA Guns, which was weird. What else did we do?
Did you feel that you were developing your own crowd at one point? Or
Yeah.
like, oh, these are our
Fan
fans?
base,
Yeah, a little bit. Because then we started playing with, we'd play shows with the Alice in Chains and bands like that.
I saw that, yeah.
Which was great. But I don't know. We just played all these smaller clubs with other bands that were
Right.
kind of in that vein, Alice in Chains kind of vein. And I think they didn't really know where to put us because we were really like all over the place.
Right.
Like if you listen to that record now, it's like metal
I did.
and it's like,
Yeah.
then there's funk stuff and there's
Very
like,
funky.
and there's like stand-up bass and our bass
Right.
player was big into slapping and
Yes, he was.
yeah.
That's his groove
Yeah, but he
vibe.
would slap with the metal guitars and, sometimes it was rock, sometimes it was metal, sometimes it's, so it was kind of all over the place. I still appreciate it when I listen to it. I'm like, oh, this was pretty rad. But then, I think that they just didn't know.
Right.
Maybe if there was a bunch of Faith No More bands, we could have like opened for one of them. But I think we were too all over the place and they didn't know what to do.
I love Faith No More, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
Incredible band.
We tried to get when we were looking for a singer in Velvet Revolver.
Yeah.
I was like, we should get Mike Patton. Sick. And then we tried to, I think he said no.
Yeah.
We tried it. I think Duff reached out to him. He's like, no.
I want to
He's
get
like,
to
I'm good.
Very Revolver, but also did you play on an Infectious Groove song or something too?
I did.
And you also did some stuff with Steve Perkins' album?
Well, so Steven, that sounds so weird to say. Steven Perkins and I met when I was going to music school.
Okay.
And I saw Jane's play at Raji's.
Okay.
It was like their second show.
Damn.
And Perkins was awesome. I was
Amazing.
going to music school. I had to make a demo. So I went up to Perkins. I'm like, dude, will you play on my demo? Like, I go to music school, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, okay, cool. And
No
so we
way.
exchanged numbers. And dude, it
played
was
in
so
your demo?
dude, it was so funny.
Wow.
He came to my mom's house, right? I had a 4-track and I set up the drums in the living room. But because we were so young, like he didn't bring a carpet to put down on the floor. So
Was he in Jane's then?
yeah, it was.
Wow.
They had just started, and those spikes like on the front of the kick drum,
Yeah.
dug into my mom's hardwood floor.
Oh, shit.
So there's like this gash, like fucking 4 inches long, and now like as a parent and a homeowner, I would fucking lose my
flip it
shit if my
because-
kid did
yeah.
that. But then I was like 18. I was like, oh, what? It's not a big deal. Just color it,
Wow. That's just so cool. He came and played on your freaking demo.
yeah, so we've known each other since then, and then when we were doing Love Hogs record, we did it at this place in the valley called Devonshire, and the guy who produced it was this guy Mark Dodson, who did Suicidal's Lights Camera Revolution.
Nice, great
That's
record.
why we got him, because we love that record.
Great record.
And then at the same time, he was doing the Infectious Grooves record at the same studio.
Wow.
So he was like double dipping and he would go back and forth. And then somehow, I don't remember this, but I was talking to Trujillo the other day and he said that I was the one that connected him with Perkins, because Perkins played on the first Infectious record.
Oh, wow.
But I don't really remember how.
That makes sense.
And then he explained it to me and I still forgot. So-
I can see that making sense, though, for sure.
But I just knew I knew Adam, the guitar player,
Yeah.
we went to school together.
Okay.
And so I just knew those guys. And then Dodson, the producer, was like, why don't you come over and play, on a solo? So I ripped a solo on that Punk It Up song,
That's cool.
that first single. And then I ended up playing with them later when Adam left the band.
And then, did you have a band called Lit that you sold the rights to that name to the other band Lit?
Yeah, for $100, dude.
What?
It's only
I-
$100.
Yeah.
To that huge band Lit?
Well, dude, here's what happened. I was in a band. This was after the Love Hogs.
Yeah.
And it was just like who was in that band? You know, it's funny. It was me. The singer from Orgy was playing bass.
Shit, nice.
We had this dude Eric that I met through Todd Youth, who was from New York.
Shout out to Todd USB, Todd Youth. We love you, Todd Youth.
Yeah, and actually, Todd Youth was in the band first.
Okay.
And then Todd split. And then it was like those dudes. It was the drummer from Love Hogs. And we were called Lit. And
First?
yeah.
Wow.
But we weren't doing anything. You know, we were playing local shows. We didn't have a record deal. We didn't have
But you had
nothing.
the name trademarked or something?
No.
Okay.
But they apparently that band was called something else and their record was called Lit.
Gotcha.
And they were getting ready to put it out and they knew about us and somehow some guy from the band called me somewhere. I don't even know.
$100?
And he was like, hey dude. Oh, and my band had, then at that point had already broken up.
Okay.
So we weren't even together. And it's just like
Yeah.
name I came up with. And he's like, dude, can we have that name? And I was just like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, really? Are you sure? I said, yeah, it's cool. I mean, the band's not even together. And he's like, well, can you sign this paper so that, you know, you don't come back and sue us or anything? Well, I'll give you $100. I was like, all right, cool.
Nice.
Dang.
So that was it.
And then they had
Dude, and then I ended up the worst part was I went in between bands. I would build sets like on do art department
set for that song,
Dude,
Pamela Anderson.
I was working on a fucking Lit video, just like
wow.
oh god, talk about humbling.
I should have got more than $100 for
I
this
know.
shit, bro.
This was like their second record where they were like blowing
Well,
up.
the first single was like Pamela Anderson or something. You would say it's no surprise
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
What's
Honestly,
that?
I didn't work on that.
You were in Brazil then. You get a pass.
Okay.
You
'Cause
were-
I was like, I don't remember.
Are
it
you
was
from
big.
Brazil? Like, did you grow up in Brazil?
Oh.
No.
No.
I had moved there. So
Try out.
You did
Yeah.
to try out for Sepultura.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
man.
yeah.
You moved there after you got the
I
gig. Yeah.
dude, I love Sepultura. By the way,
Oh,
I
nice.
fucking I was listening to Chaos AD the other day. I fucking love that record.
It's a
Dude.
banger.
So good.
I like the way you sing it though live. You kill
Thank
that
you,
shit, son.
thank you.
Kill that shit, son.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So Lit, that's fucking crazy, man. Damn.
Yeah.
$100.
$100.
That's oh my God.
Sad.
And then what about Sugar Tooth? Was that another band after that?
Yeah, that was after the Love Hogs, and Joey was in that band.
Was Lazy playing?
Lazy was not in that band. Joey was in Sugar Tooth, and then they just needed a guitar player. And he
Yeah.
called me and he was like, "Why don't you come?" You know. And then we toured,
Who's
did a
your-
little touring with Sugar Tooth.
What was the other Sugar band? Sugar Cult.
Oh.
That was in New York, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
Another Sugar band, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then you played on Psycho Myco too?
I did. Yeah, because
I love Mike Mirror, man.
oh, dude, the bet. Okay, I got a story.
Please.
So
Because you were a Suicidal fan for
no,
sure. Yeah.
no.
Back in the day, you weren't? No.
back in the day, I was in the Lads, which was like an LA punk.
You were
band.
part of that?
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
but
we
not
was in
for
a
very
gang back
long.
in the
So
day.
all my friends were in the
Wow.
Lads, right?
Was Joey C too back then, maybe? I don't know.
I didn't know Joey back
Oh,
then.
okay,
This was
okay.
like when I was with the Mad
Damn,
Society
the Lads
guys.
is legit, dude. You heard of the Lads?
So
Okay.
so there was like these three like LA punk gangs. They're in LA. So there was like
Yes.
FFF, you know, it was the Valley punk gang.
Okay.
Then there was Suicidal, and then there was the Lads, LA Death Squad. So like we would,
Hard name.
but you would
bro.
get like, you know, you sometimes you get in fights. At,
Let me find
at
out Dave Kushner
shows
was in
and
a
stuff.
gang, bro. Go ahead.
Sick.
So, but the thing was, it's like all my friends were, you know, in the Lads, and then I was kind of in it for a really short time.
Yeah.
And I just remember then I had these two friends and I remember this one friend of mine who's not around anymore. This guy Speedy, his name is Alex, and he was really into it, and he would wear like the armband because they had armbands, right, with the skull and crossbones. And we went to the show. I think it was Discharge at the Olympic Auditorium.
That sounds like a crazy ass show.
Dude, and then he got the shit beat out of him because he was by himself, and me and my other buddy were like over here, and he was over there, and he got beat up by these suicidal dudes. And then we left. He was all fucked up. And then we went to this show. We went to see Slayer at
I
the...
bet that was violent as fuck back then.
Dude, it was the
Dude.
first record. I think it was the first record, first or second.
Jesus.
But at the country club, which was out in Reseda.
I know the name of that
Dude,
spot, yeah.
I love Slayer, by the way. I've seen every record. I've seen them play. Like, I was the guy that was, even with Velvet Revolver, we'd play festivals, and I'd be like, oh, Slayer's playing tomorrow. I'm gonna stay. You guys go. I'll figure it out, and I'd stay and like watch Slayer. And
It's awesome.
but
Shout out to Gary Holt. He's an awesome dude.
But I saw them when they had like the makeup and the fucking spiked, all like long.
Yeah.
So we went to see Slayer at the country club. My friend Alex is there, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking stab some suey, it comes. And
Speedy.
Yeah. And so we're in the crowd, right? And dude, all of a sudden fucking Mike Muir's on stage announcing Slayer. So we're like, okay, there's a fucking lot of suicidals here.
You're right.
And then at one point he had a knife, and he got like, some suicidal guy saw him with the knife, and then all these suicidal guys like surrounded us. And all I remember is I was in the hallway, and Mike Muir was like in my face, and I think I was like,
holy shit.
I was like 18 or something. And I just remember Mike Muir like pointing at me like this, like, I fucking kill you, I fucking bro. And I was like,
Holy shit,
yeah,
dude.
okay. And he looked huge to me. Like,
yeah.
I mean, we're like the same height, but like back then he just seemed, and he was like the head of the fucking, and there was all these like Rick Clayton and all, like No Mercy dude, and
No Mercy, yeah.
all these guys were there.
Wolf, all those bands.
And I was like, oh shit, because this was before Wasted Youth, when I knew like Rick Clayton and all those dudes. So I was like, oh shit.
Like, no, that's really not for me anymore.
Yeah, and so, and then I was just like, I'm not into this anymore. And then, so the best part is, so then we do the Infectious record.
Yeah.
And Mark Dodson, the producer who was doing Infectious, I had told him this story.
Oh shit.
So I'm sitting in the room recording acoustic. So I'm out in the live room, and I see Mark, through the glass, and I see Robert Trujillo and Mike Muir walk in the control room, and Mike Muir starts looking at me like, he's like looking at me like, damn, do I fucking know that guy? And I swear to God, I'm like, oh shit. I start fucking panicking, like I start getting all sweaty and shit. I'm like, oh no, fucking Mike Muir's gonna beat me up, like in my own fucking recording my own record. I was like, this is bad. It is so funny. And then I go in the room, and I see Robert and Mike, and I hadn't seen Mike since that time.
Yeah, many years ago.
And I knew he was doing the record, but I was a little like nervous. I was like, look around in the parking lot before I went in the studio, like, oh, is Mike Muir here?
He scarred you for life,
dude. I swear to God, because this was only like maybe 4 or 5 years later.
Okay.
And so Mike looks at me. I go in the control room, and Mike's looking at me. He's like, "You look familiar," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know." I'm doing that, and he's like giving me the stink eye, like, "Nah, I think I know you from somewhere." And I'm like, "What? Nah." And he starts laughing. And he's like, I'm just fucking with you, dude. Mark told me the story. I was like, oh, my God, dude.
That is amazing.
Awesome.
And that's how I became
like
friendly
cool
with Mike. And
Yeah.
then he needed, and then when he did Psycho Michael, he needed me and Adam, the guy from
It's fucking
Infectious,
crazy how the world is like
played
that, man.
guitar on it.
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
Yeah, it was fun.
And then you were in Danzig for 9 months and only played one show. Is that true?
Talk about, like, dude, my whole career was like the other shoe dropping the whole time.
Right.
Again, Joey, when I was in Sugartooth with Joey ended up leaving Sugartooth to go to get the Danzig gig right when Danzig 4 came out.
I wish I seen Joey and Danzig and never got to see that.
It was so good, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So good. And then, like a year later, maybe, he called me and was like, dude, you should come try out. And so I tried out. I think Blasco was already in the band. Mm-hmm. And I tried out. I got the gig. But it was in this weird period where Glenn had lost his voice.
Okay.
So he talked like this.
I didn't know he did that. I know that.
And I don't know what happened to him, dude. He would talk like this. And he'd be like, hey Joey, we're going to practice today. Or,
Wow.
And so for 9 months, dude, we practiced and learned Danzig songs at Mates. And he would come in like once, every month or two. And he would try and sing, and he was fucked up. And he would like, he was going to doctors, and they'd be like, "Oh, I went downtown and I got these Chinese herbs." He was trying everything to get his voice back because it was gone.
Was
for
he pretty cool? Anyway,
I love Glenn. No, you know what, dude? I'm only saying that because Glenn.
Most uncomfortable pause.
I love dancing stories because I'm fascinated.
Dude, it's so
by
Glenn.
him.
It was so weird because. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm just saying
I'm pretty
no matter
fascinated by
everything
It's
I've heard, I'm always just like, yeah.
I met
but
him-
I'm still.
It's so weird.
I
met him-
love dancing. I still love it.
I do too.
No matter all the stories I hear, I'm like, I don't care.
Dude, me and my wife were walking down St. Mark's back in the day, and here comes Danzig with Todd Youth and with my wife. I'm like, holy shit, it's Todd Youth and fucking Danzig. I didn't even look the dude in the eye. They shook his hand for a second. I was just like,
Right.
it's fucking Danzig. I don't know what to do.
Well, first of all, he's just beyond intimidating as, his presence and everything. So, it's like Joey was actually living in Glenn's back house off of Franklin.
Oh my god.
So did Howie Power, rest in peace.
Yeah.
I went
So
to Howie there once.
And Howie, because Howie was in
Yes, he
Danzig
was.
too
Yeah.
with Todd.
Yep.
And so it was just weird. Wait, I did a show.
Were you a big Misfits fan growing up and shit too?
Not really.
Okay.
I was more
That made it easy for
L.A.
you. Yeah.
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 I wasn't so New York punk rock
I got
as
you.
much as L.A.
Ramones,
I wasn't.
Ramones, maybe?
No, I never. Dude, I
bro.
Get out.
This dude's mad West Coast.
I will say,
Wow.
I never really was a huge Ramones fan.
Okay.
I was more like, I was always too like into metal, and
Got you.
so it's like not then, but I went from like Circle Jerks, Black Flag, Discharge, GBH. It was like European
Yeah.
punk and LA punk.
Got you.
The Crowd,
Yeah.
Fear,
Fear.
the Subtitles,
Yeah,
Fear,
yeah.
Yeah.
all those bands, and then it went straight into Slayer and all the
Okay.
metal bands.
All right. Respect.
So
No Minor Threat.
Minor Threat, yeah,
East Coast.
But-
Okay.
but
Plus, you lived in D.C. for a second, so.
yeah.
Okay, anyway, go ahead. back to Glenn Danzig.
No, I don't know, dude. He was a very hard dude to make a connection with.
Yeah,
because he's very
standoffish.
standoffish,
Yeah.
and Joey gets along with everyone, dude.
Totally.
And he's got the right temperament, and he just got along great with Glenn, and I'd see Glenn laugh once in a while, but we weren't in the band that long. I mean, we didn't see him that much, to be honest. We would see him, and then we'd play, and he'd be like,
And this is, no disrespect to you or Danzig, but they had a lot of revolving. There was so many different members.
oh,
Yeah.
dude.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
lineups. I've seen so many different lineups in that.
Dude, Tommy from Prong,
Yeah.
fucking me, Todd, that dude
What's
that
the
was
Christ?
Howie.
There was a guy.
John Christ.
John Christ.
There was this other dude that was in
And then
Rob Zombie's
my
band.
boy from Sam Hain, the drummer. Look at his name.
Oh,
It's my
God.
boy.
Yeah.
He's a
there was
nerd.
a lot
He's
of
a nurse
lot
in
of
real
different
life.
people in it. I mean,
I'll get his name back in a second. But yeah.
And also, I think the reason I paused was because, so what happened was we did this one not Christmas. We did a Halloween show.
This was the
your
one show.
one show.
Yeah, we did one show. So it was me, Blasco, and Joey. And I would pick up, like, Blasco didn't have a car, so I'd pick him up every day for rehearsal.
Blasco.
He's the best, dude.
He's
Is
awesome.
Blasco the ones with Liquid Death, correct?
Yeah,
Awesome,
Blasco
awesome. Okay,
plays in Ozzy's band, and
Okay,
he manages
yeah, okay.
Zach, and he plays with
okay.
Zach and Joey, and he was the best, dude. He had this little dog. He had a little mini Doberman named Damien that would fucking like go crazy every time I'd pull up in my El Camino, and Blasco's rad, dude. He helped me move when I moved out from one apartment to the other. He's like,
When I first
I'll help you, dude.
Sepultura, he was working at the bar that we'd always go to. He was like, bartender there. And he
Yeah.
was really cool.
Oh,
London
yeah.
May, by the way. I want to shout London
Oh, yeah.
May. That's
I
my
know
man
you're talking
from
about.
DC. Okay, go ahead.
he's just great.
Yeah.
Dude. I love that guy. And so we played this one show. It was like a surprise show at the Whiskey for Halloween
Cool.
in like, I think it was 96
That's
maybe.
a sick fucking show there.
And then maybe a month later, the four of us went out. We went to the Viper Room. I forget to
You with
see
Glenn
who.
and them?
Me, Glenn, Joey,
That's
and
sick.
Blasco. We all went. I forget why. We all went to see some band, and Danzig 5 had come out,
Okay.
which was a record where he didn't have a band, and like Joey played on it.
Okay.
And Jerry Cantrell and Lazy and some other people, and Glenn played guitar, and this guy played guitar, and there was programming, and it was all over the place.
Yeah.
And Glenn was talking. I forget why. Somehow the conversation went to like that record, and I was like, oh, that record's cool, but it doesn't really sound like a band. It sounds exactly. Dude.
This is the beginning.
As I said, it just sounds more. Yeah,
like,
dude. I swear to God, that's all I said. Really. The next day, Joey calls me. He's like, dude, I think we're gonna look for another guitar player. I was like, oh, because of the thing I said. He's like, yeah.
That was it. Sealed your fate with
That was it.
Holy
You
shit.
should've known.
Hey, but you know what? I was right.
Yeah,
I'm right.
I'm
right?
sure you're right, but
right.
you don't say that shit to Glenn.
Fuck that
Wow.
band. Fuck that band.
Yo, I respect it. I respect your honesty. At least he was honest. But
Absolutely.
but
It was really dumb.
But did Glenn
in
ask-
hindsight?
Yeah, but
to
did Glenn
actually
ask
say
you
that.
Yeah, right.
No.
Yo,
It was just one of those
God.
knucklehead moments where,
Right.
like, if you were watching that in a movie, you'd be like, dude,
Well, yeah,
why
yeah,
would you
like, why'd
say that?
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
What did he respond to when you said that to
He's
him?
like, I like that record. That sounds like a band to me. I was like, yeah, I mean, well, it's just because there's a lot of different people playing
I
on
agree
it.
with
So
you. I agree.
it sounded more like
Yeah.
I was like, it sounded more like a Nine Inch Nails record or something. And no, he
Yo,
was
Glenn
like,
was up all night too, like fucking pissed. And the next morning woke
Dude.
up.
waiting to call Joey,
Yeah.
waiting to go in Joey's room, wake
Right.
him up. Hey, Joey, you got to get rid of that guy. That guy's out. He's out. And then Blasco got kicked out like a month or two
Were
later.
you bummed?
right?
When you bummed when you got that call the next
Yeah,
day?
of course.
Damn.
That was the biggest band I had been in to
Right.
date. Really? Yeah, because every band, it's like you'd get a little farther, and
Yeah.
and you know, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna other shoe drops every time.
And then how long after that? What we did between that and Velvet Revolver?
Fuck, that was a long time, dude.
Really?
It's all big.
Was Zilch in there too?
Zilch was in there.
Yeah.
The first time we went to Japan with Zilch, Howie was playing bass.
Oh wow. Okay.
I think. Wait, no, Howie played bass the second time.
So so before Velvet Revolver, were you getting into all like the soundtrack stuff too, like the Sons of Anarchy
No,
stuff?
that was after.
Okay. Yeah.
What did I do? I played with Dave Navarro.
Oh, that's cool.
He did a solo record.
I
I
remember
was like
that.
the MD for his solo band. We toured.
What's the MD mean? People listening.
Musical director.
Yes.
Musical director. Like I hired
cool.
the band, and I mean it doesn't mean much really for me.
Oh, it's right there. Musical director. You're off on my notes.
It's usually the guy who is like the go between
Yeah,
the
that's cool,
artist
though.
and the like I had such a rad band. It was like me. Another funny thing. It was me. So Andy Slater was the head of Capitol.
Okay.
And he was managing Dave. And Dave and I were friends. So Dave was like, yeah, why don't you, help me put together the band? He had made this record. And I was like, let's get Joey C. and let's get Scott from Weezer, the bass player. And that'll be the band. And I put the band together. And I forget why, dude, but we went to this club and Andy Slater was there. And 2 out of 3 of us had like leather pants on. I think we had leather pants on and Dave had leather pants on because from Agatha, Agatha.
Yeah, Agatha.
So
Yeah,
Agatha Scott was going out with Agatha.
Gotcha.
And so she would make all these pants and I was
Yeah.
like, I want some of those pants, and she
she
comes
was-
over and
that
does
was- she was
and they
popular.
fit like jeans,
Totally.
and
Yeah.
it was like, wasn't like, wasn't as goofy as it sounds,
Yeah.
but it was still a little goofy. So it was Dave, me, and Scott all had leather pants on, and Andy Slater's like, "Oh no, you guys look like you're in fucking Creed." And Andy's like, and then the next day he got this girl, this Asian girl bass player. So the next day Andy didn't like the visual.
I see.
So
Gotcha.
he was like, no, we're getting this chick to play drums or bass, and then we're getting this dude. We ended up getting this guy Jerome who played in Nine Inch Nails. It was great, but
Wow.
he wanted the band to not look like Creed.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Understandable.
Are you a part? Are you
Totally.
a part of putting Velvet
Yeah, I
Revolver
can't argue with
together? Are you a part of putting Velvet Revolver together, or you just auditioned?
No, I had nothing to do with that.
Okay.
I was, what happened? I was doing Zilch, and then that was just a project. And then I was working a lot, just building sets and doing my
Oh, you're
thing.
doing
and,
that? Yeah, set design.
and I started writing songs at home, just like on a computer, you know, it's like,
yeah.
And I think at that point I was kind of, I was like 30-ish, like 34, something. Yeah. And I was or in my early 30s, and I was just really into, I was trying to write music for fun, you know, like instead of, you know, you get caught in this, I think, you know, kind of idea of like when you're trying to do something and then the shoe drops and then you get a little further, not even a hit song, but you're like, oh, I like this band. This is like, maybe I'll, you know, and you start getting in your head and you start kind of,
totally,
you know, like, oh, well, if I write it like this, maybe it's be a little more like, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'd gotten to this point where I'm just like, you know what? I'm tired of not having any money. I'm just going to fucking work all the time. I was working, I was making money. And I started just writing songs by myself in Logic. And I met Mikey Fitz from Fitz and the Tantrums.
Okay.
Way before Fitz and the Tantrums. And I had seen his band at the Viper Room, and I liked his voice, and I'm like, dude, I'm writing these songs at my house. You want to sing on them? He's like, okay, cool. And so he came over, and we recorded all these songs. And when I was in Japan with Zilch, I had become friends with Duff because we were the only two of the only dudes not drinking. And, you know, because I knew Slash and I knew other dudes.
Yeah.
And we just were friendly, and he was cool, and we just started talking and drinking near beers and fucking hanging out, and we became friends. Yeah, near beers, OG near beers with the orange label.
We just heard recently he went down to our friend's studio and played a song on Fear's new album. Duff did.
Yeah, he's
fucking cool.
Because he's huge.
That's so cool.
Fan.
Okay, go ahead.
I know I was jealous when I saw the Lee Ving picture, but we just became friends, dude, and we started hanging out, and it was really had nothing to do with music. Like we would just go see movies, and
that's cool.
Totally dork out, like, because he's a big reader, and he was always reading books, like still, and he was like, oh, I read this book called Black Hawk Down, and they made it into a movie. We should go see it. And I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. And there was this movie called Chopper Read, with Eric Bana.
Love Chopper,
It's a great book.
Yeah,
I
read the book.
I have all three. I read those.
Yeah, dude, he read the book, and he's like, dude, this movie Chopper Read, we should go see it.
Eric Bana killed that.
And then so then he heard the stuff I'd done with Mikey Fitz, and he's like, dude, we should do that. We should start a band.
Wow.
He had Loaded. I was playing in Loaded just because the guys had left, and you know we got along good, and we were hanging out a lot. Yeah. So he's like, "Oh, why don't you play in Loaded?" I said, "Okay, cool." And then I played him these songs, and he's like, "Let's start a band." I said, "All right, let's get Joey C." He's like, always the first guy.
That's so cool, though.
And so that was the band. It was us four, you know. And then we went into Rumbo where I
recorded there with Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Same time we were there. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And so we went to Rumbo and we re-recorded those songs that I had recorded with Fitz. And we were going to start a band. And it was called Chopper Read. Dude,
no way.
Yeah, we called the band Chopper Read.
Sick.
And we were like, oh, we're going to get fucked up by that guy? And we're like, no, he lives pretty far. He's in Australia. Oh, we'll be fine.
He's so ill, that story, man.
And we like spelled the name differently. Like, oh, we'll spell it like this if we change it, you know. And yeah, dude. And we started that band. And at the same time, there was a benefit for Randy Castillo, who had died.
Okay.
Drummer for Ozzy. And I remember me and Duff were in Swingers. And I remember Matt came in, saw him, because he lived around the corner.
Yeah. And
he was asking Duff, and I'd know Matt, but I didn't, you know, we didn't hang out or anything. I just knew him from around. And he was telling Duff, like, hey, you know, Randy Castillo died. I want to do this benefit for his, you know, funeral costs and all this shit. And we're going to play at the Key Club. And Duff was like, yeah, cool, I'll do it. So then it was Slash, Duff, and Matt, and the singer and the guitar player from Buck Cherry.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Keith and Josh. And they played together, and there was other people, like Steven Tyler was there, and other people played, and
that's cool.
Whatever. And I remember just being in the audience like, oh, dude. Like, so bummed. Like, is this going to be their new band?
Right.
I just started a band with this guy. Yeah. Now I'm just like, the writing was slowly
get a break, man.
Slowly coming down the wall.
Right.
And I remember like a couple weeks later, Duff called me and he's like, well, dude, we started playing with, you know, I haven't played with Slash in forever. And like, it sounds really good. And it's really, going well, and him and Matt just, and so we're gonna start playing with Josh and Keith and so I don't think I can really have time to do the Chopper Reed thing. And I was like,
Chopper Reed.
I was so bummed. And I was like, oh, dude, it's cool. Like, I understand. What am I going to do? Dude, and then so he and I were still friends. We would talk all the time. And then a couple weeks later, he called. I guess so when they were writing songs, they couldn't hear Josh's voice really. They couldn't hear really what he was doing because they didn't have a proper PA.
Right.
But they would record shit. So they recorded and they demoed it and they were like, we're not sure about Josh's thing. We're not, it's not vibing right. And so they said, we're going to get rid of Josh. So they got rid of Josh and Keith was still in the band. And then Duff called me and he's like, I'm not sure if, I'm not sure if we're going to keep Keith in the band. It's not going great. Or I don't remember why really.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't gelling right. And he's like, I think we're going to, part ways with him. And we have these 8 songs. So why don't you learn some of these songs and then come down next week? Sick. And I was like, yeah, that was my reaction too. Yeah. Sick, bro. and I said, okay, cool. And then the next day, dude, he called me. He's like, oh, dude, I couldn't, it was so uncomfortable. I just told Keith that he was out and you should come down tomorrow. I was like, what, dude? Oh, shit. He's like, if you know any GNR songs, play those too. I was like, whoa,
That's
shit.
sick.
I am the worst at remembering songs.
Okay.
Right.
If you asked me to play a Velvet Revolver song right now, I would not be able to play it front to back. And so.
Were you a big GNR fan too?
I liked the first record a lot.
Yeah.
But I didn't know any of those. I never
Okay.
sat down and learned a lot of
Yeah.
songs. So I was like, shit. And I just fucking tried the best I could. And I went down, I had my pedal board and my fucking, and I set up and I played and they were like, all right, cool. Basically it was like, and it was okay because I known Slash and because I knew everyone. So I wasn't super nervous,
Yeah.
just like, whatever, dude, it's fucking whatever, and so I went down and I did my thing and had all my pedals and just decided I'm going to, because I use a lot of pedals when I play and I'm like, I'm just going to make my weird sounds and I'm going to do my thing. And I couldn't really hear Slash because the fucking volume coming out of Duff's amp.
Yeah.
So I'm on the other side. Duff's amp's so loud I can barely hear what Slash is even playing, which is kind of why Velvet Revolver ended up the way it was.
Okay.
That was kind of the sound. I would just play really more off the bass than what he was doing.
Gotcha.
And
was that intimidating that first time jamming with them? No, you weren't.
a little bit just because I wanted the gig, but
yeah.
I wasn't intimidated by
Who they
there's
were.
Slash because I'd known him since I was 13, you know,
high school shit. Yeah.
and Duff I was already playing with. And so that day I was getting ready to leave. I was getting ready to get my pedal board and they're like, oh, just leave it. Why don't you come back tomorrow? I was like, okay, cool.
Nice.
Dude. And that it went on like that for 10 months.
Wow.
I fucking, they never tried anyone else out. I never really knew if I was in the band.
Oh my God.
And we just started jamming and they locked out mates 2 to 6 Monday through Friday. So we would just write songs every day and started looking for singers.
Were you writing stuff too, or just going
Yeah,
with
all of us.
So cool,
Oh, nice.
man.
Just
That's
in a
awesome.
room jamming.
Yeah.
And so for 10 months we looked for a singer and I never really knew if I was in the band. And then after 4 months, Izzy came around. Izzy fucking came back and I was like, oh, great.
Yeah.
And totally, dude. And I was like, oh, this is fucked. And I remember Duff was like, dude, it's going to be fine. He does this. He comes around.
Yeah.
He wants to play. And then he'll leave in a couple of weeks. He never stays. He just wants to play and have fun and then he'll leave.
Jam. Yeah.
So they wrote some songs with them and then they went in the studio with them. They're like, oh, dude, by the way, we're going to go in the studio with them. I was like, what?
Wow, dude.
And I didn't go. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. Yeah, this is the other shoe. And
are you working at that time? How are you surviving during that 10 months?
I worked at Mates because I was so afraid of losing my gig.
Okay.
And I would work on sets, but every time I'd get a gig, it's like, hey, do you want to work 10 days on this commercial? And the hours are crazy.
Yeah.
You're working all 12 hours a day. So I just turned down all the jobs eventually. And I was
Jeez.
like, and Bobby at Mates, who I'd known forever, he's like, dude, I'll give you a job here. You can work from 9 to 2
and then jam with these guys.
and then be at rehearsal. And then just, so
That's
was doing
amazing.
cartage at Mates, which was a mind fuck because I was carding like all these dudes that I had been in bands with. Dude, the second day
Oh my
I did
God, dude.
Queens of the Stone Age. So I'm like, and I knew Troy and I knew Joey and I was like pushing fucking. And
That's
I was like,
insane.
"What's up, dudes?" You know, like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" And like, "Oh, where do you want this case?" You know, like pushing the fucking Anvil case, like.
And then 2
"Oh,
o'clock,
just
you're
over-"
jamming with Slash in the room.
Yeah, dude. And then so it was like,
That's incredible. Wow.
and then so people would be like, "Oh, what are you doing now?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm in this band with 3 guys from Guns N' Roses."
I think I'm in this band.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I'm not sure. I've been jamming for 10
Yeah,
months.
and
That's insane.
dude, so that was it. And so I would do cartage. I would fucking, with all these dudes I knew.
Wow.
And then I would go to rehearsal. And yeah, so we just did that for 10 months. And I met Chris, my wife now,
Shout out to Chris.
right, like 3 months before that.
Okay.
So we were just dating and, she was like, wait, you're in a band with the guys from Guns N' Roses, but you're not making any money. Like I had not that she wanted me,
Yeah.
but it's like I had no money to begin with. I had like $400 in the bank maybe.
Yeah,
when I
you're
met
loading
her.
in gear of the band you're
Yeah.
jamming with.
Totally, dude.
playing with
Dude, it was gnarly.
Wow,
I would do this thing
dude.
like they call them truck dumps, like when big bands get back from tour and
Oh,
they,
yeah.
they have like a semi full of gear, like that band Chicago, we would do it for. And McBob, who was Duff's bass tech, and Adam, who was Slash's guitar tech, and all the techs would do these things called truck dumps, where it's like the semi would pull up to the storage place,
Yeah.
and you just take all the stuff off of this, into the storage. And McBob, who's Duff's guy, he talks like this. He'd be like, "Hey, Dave, you want to do a truck dump? $60 cash." And I'd be like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, dude, let's do it." So I'd leave rehearsal, go do a truck dump. I'd fucking
Holy
come back.
shit.
And so that was like that whole time. Just, am I in the band? Hey, Duff. Hey, man, am I in the band or not? And he'd be like, dude, don't worry about it. Like, you're in the band kind of, but you're basically, we're not looking for anyone else. Like, let's just see what happens.
You're like
And
in the studio making the record. Like, am I the
dude, he'd always just be like, don't worry about it.
I got you.
And he was right. He was always, kind of calming me down.
So how long after those 10 months you guys actually made the record and then like became a
No,
band?
dude, we kept looking for. There's a really good documentary called The Rise of Velvet Revolver.
Oh, really?
That's on that VH1 made.
Oh,
it's
shit.
killer, dude.
Okay, I'm going to watch it.
Because it starts from. I think I was in the band. We were only playing together for about 3 months, and
Okay.
these 2 dudes came, the Alexes,
Yeah,
and they were just there all the time, and they would,
They're- yeah.
they were there fucking hanging out, and they were really cool, and
What was their deal?
they had done this Aerosmith documentary, and Slash
Ah.
knew them, or someone at VH1 approached Slash.
So they were filming and hanging. Okay.
So they were
okay.
just hanging out, and
Okay.
they would interview us, or they'd see us like, trying singers out and telling singers like, you're not the guy. And they were there the whole time, dude. And they were there when Scott first came to rehearsal.
Wow.
And so we had a manager. The manager had talked to Scott, and I knew Scott.
I was
So
going to say that you toured together. Right?
so I saw him at the gym, and they're like, dude, you should give him a CD. So I gave him the CD at the gym, and he was like, oh, cool. I don't remember if he was still in SCP or whatever.
Another great band, by the
No,
way.
they had, I think he was, yeah. Or it
Well,
was
at
like a
first,
split or something.
he was in it.
Yeah,
Because we
yeah.
tried to get him, and he's like, no, I'm still in SCP.
Yeah.
And we are like, all right, whatever. Then after during that period, he had gotten kicked out.
Right.
Oh, shit.
And so then we were like, and I think almost everyone in the band in Velvet Revolver at the time wasn't drinking.
Okay.
So we all were like, all right, well, we knew like obviously what his deal was and his
Yeah.
past and his story. And so, but we gave him this CD. He put vocals on one song. We listened to it and we are like, this is the guy. He's the whole package. He's
Incredible,
like
yeah.
what we've been waiting for. And he came down and it's all like on this in the documentary.
Okay.
He came down, he sang, he fucking crushed it, and we were like, you know, what? Yeah, there's the guy, you know,
Yeah.
let's go. But then, dude, like, so our managers had set up this showcase for 2 days later. You know, once they heard the song, they started these wheels in motion.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to do a showcase, but for all these music supervisors for all these, because that was a time when all the big blockbuster movies were happening,
Yeah.
like Mission Impossible, and everyone, like, if you would have a song at the end title, that was like the big thing, you know. It was
Big Willie weekend with Independence Day.
Yep,
All that.
totally.
Stuff. Yeah.
And so they were like, the plan was, before we do a record deal, we're gonna get you guys some money by getting you an end title, and then
Jesus.
that could be like your first original song.
really nice
blah
of
blah.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very nice. And so they had all these people come down. So that was 2 days. Scott was supposed to come the second day to rehearse, and then the third day we were going to do this showcase. Second day, doesn't show up. He's nowhere to be found. We keep calling. There's like an assistant. We're like, hey, is Scott coming? They're like, oh yeah, he's going to be there in a bit. And he never comes.
Damn.
He's like, dude, it was brutal. We're all stressed out. It's all in the video, all in the doc.
Okay.
It's like us, like, are we really going to do this? Are we going to start like this? Is this, he has the flu, like,
Oh man.
air quotes, the flu. And it was just like, I guess, and like, we did it anyways. The next day we're like, all right, dude, so you're going to come down at like 12. He's like, I'll come at 12. We'll rehearse. And then all the music people come at 2 and then we'll play. Next day it's 12, 12:30, 1, 1:30, calling. He'll be there in 15 minutes.
Oh my God.
2:00. All the people are showing up. They're there. Scott's still not there. At 2:30, he shows up. It's all on tape, dude. It's all on film. You see him walking through the parking lot, no shirt on, or just like shirt
Oh my
open.
God.
And to his credit, dude, he killed it, and that was it. And then we ended up, right there. We did a cover of Money for the Italian Job.
Oh yeah, with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, and then at the same time we did that song we had given him, Set Me Free.
Yeah.
We recorded that and did it for Eric Bana, the Hulk. That Eric Bana was
in.
in.
Movie. That's cool, man.
And so then that was it. And then we got
just like that. That's crazy.
It was crazy, dude. Like, I remember no money. I remember having no money, and it's when you would call like the bank and it would say, hold on, my wife. What? I'm sorry, honey, I'm doing a podcast.
Does she know you're over here? What up? Yeah.
Anyways, so I was like, oh shit, what am I gonna? Oh no, sorry. I would call the bank, and I really didn't know how things worked. So I was like, I would call the bank every day to check my account, I'd be like, oh, your checking account has $200.03.
Yeah, I remember
I'd be like, all right,
Me too.
and then, dude, one day I called and there was like 10 grand in there from the Italian Job, and I was like, your checking account balance is $10,000.24. I was like, whoa! I called my mom like on 3-way. I'm like, Mom, check it out. And they was like, your checking account, and I was so stoked.
That's
I
amazing.
never had that much money in my life. I was 35, dude.
Wow, dude.
And I was.
That's for one of the movies.
And
yeah.
dude, I kept calling, and then at one point
Hoping
it
it's more.
said, dude, I swear to God this happened. I called again, and it said, your checking account balance is $20,000. And I was like, oh my God. And I called the bank and talked to a person because I didn't believe it. And she's like, oh, let me check. And she's like, oh no, that was a mistake. It's just 10. And I was like, oh. I know,
That's
dude.
fucked up.
And then we did the Hulk movie, and then it was just like way more than that.
I can imagine.
And then I was like,
yeah.
then it was like, dude. And dude, I asked Duff because Duff had gone back to University of Washington, I think, some school in Seattle. He'd gone back to college to get a degree in finance.
Oh wow!
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, because when he was not drinking, and he would try and read these financial statements from Guns N' Roses.
Which I'm sure are insane, by the way.
Yeah, and he didn't understand them, so he started asking questions.
Yeah.
And he just got interested, and he's just like, you know what? I'm going to go to fucking college.
That's so cool.
And I'm going to learn all this stuff. And so I would say, like, dude, what do I do? You know, what do I do with my money? And he was like, buy a house. I was like, what? I only got this much, you know? And he'd be like, just put 10% down, you know, blah, blah, blah. And the other thing he said was, watch what Matt Sorum does with his money and do the opposite.
Okay.
Because he had been in GNR with Matt, and Matt would spend money like he was a founding member, even though he was hired. And
wow, man, that's some great advice, man. Did you buy a house?
I did, dude.
Oh,
I bought a house in Studio City. And
did you buy a house before the record came out? From just off the movies?
I did, actually.
Holy shit!
I think we had gotten. I think we might have gotten an advance from a record deal too.
Good for you.
But I remember because the record came out in 2004.
Yeah.
In like the middle of 2004.
Yeah.
I got married in December 2003.
Yeah.
We were mixing the record, and we were buying a house all at the same time. So we bought our house.
Like, yo, this guy just did 2 songs for movies, and we're chilling. We haven't done the record yet. That's crazy.
Yeah, we were. So yeah, we got the advance for the record. So I had the money from all these 3 things, but that was like way before the whole housing crash.
Yes.
In 2008.
Yeah.
So you literally could tell a bank like,
oh yeah,
I'm in a band, or I make lots of money, and they'd be like, okay, how much do you want?
Yeah, way different now.
Or like I remember Chris, like I had terrible credit, and Chris had really good credit, so we like got a joint checking account, you know, commingled everything, and then we got and then, but we had to buy the house in her name.
Got you.
And then she had
I did
to
the same thing.
Yeah, then she had to
did the same thing with this house.
Yeah, the quit claim. They do the quit claim thing, and then she basically gave me half of the house, you know, like, and then that helped me build my credit, and then I
fucking loser musicians.
I know, dude.
But then Contraband comes out in 2004, right? And it's number 1 on Billboard.
Yeah, that was crazy, dude.
That's
like,
insane.
It was after that, dude. It was like, but again, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah,
the whole time, dude.
When it hit number 1 on Billboard, did they let you know you're actually in the band at that point? Were you in the band at that point,
dude? It's like I knew at that point. To be honest, once Scott got in the band, because Scott and I were friends.
That's cool.
And Scott really kind of. I remember Scott wanted to get sober, and he had known me for, you know, a long time, and he was like, dude, can I stay at your house? Dude, I lived in an apartment with Chris in a 2-bedroom apartment. All these other guys had houses.
Yeah.
And he's like, can I stay with you? You know, and so he stayed in this apartment because he was going through a divorce, I think. And
oh, man.
And so he lived with us for a little bit. And, you know, we'd just known each other since Mighty Joe Young, and we had kind of come up together in a sense. And we always got along great. And he had told me at one point, like, I don't know if I would have stayed in the band because if you weren't in the band, because that made it not Guns N' Roses. You know, it made it not, made it like, you know, because you came from a different thing than those guys. And, and so we kind of bonded that way, you know, and he was great, man. He was great in the sense for me personally, because he always like really believed in me, you know, and he was always like when I would present songs, he would be like, oh, let's use that song, you know, because he always liked my shit. And man,
that album,
it was cool.
It's crazy because it was quick. Like with Revolver, I was like, damn, this is huge already. And I was like, I was already living out of the country, so I was like, I don't know, in my own world. But in the past like day or a few days, I was like, I'm gonna really check out this album. Yeah, because I remember hearing those songs, like the big songs, but I was like, But hearing it like now, you know, I was just like, wow.
It'd be
first
rad.
of all, the first album was like the production is fantastic.
It'd be funny if you went, and then I listened to it, and then I was like,
So really good, obviously good production, because the
production is amazing.
Best of the best.
The vocals are, I mean, he kills it. I mean, I just love it's straight up rock, and I love his vocals.
He's fucking great.
He's pure talent.
I mean, the whole mix and everything. And I'm like, let me. Andy Wallace.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's
the shit, dude.
He's the shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds so well balanced. I'm like, damn. I was like, I missed out. You know, at that time, because people were hyped in Brazil on it. They were like, yo, Velvet Revolver, oh my God. I was like,
dude.
calm the fuck down. I was like, what is going on? But when I hear it now, I'm like, man, this shit is my new jam now. Like,
that's cool.
Yeah,
cool.
It's really
South
really,
America was fucking into it, dude. When we went to South America.
I mean, it's really, oh man, when I hear it now, I'm like, fucking hell, man, it's so good.
That's cool. Thank you.
I love it. Man.
I'm so happy for you because of this journey so far, like what you went through and all the different bands and the ups and downs and like almost doing this and almost doing that with a band and playing the one show with Danzig and then working, loading the gear.
I mean, even like reading about like doing research, I was just like, holy shit, it was definitely not like,
and all of a sudden, this guy's number one in Billboard and shit. It's like, it's pretty fucking amazing, man.
It was crazy, dude. And I just got married and it was, I mean, it was fucking unbelievable, you know, for what it was, because I just got married. Chris got along with everyone in the band.
Yeah.
She was super cool. She's still pretty cool.
She's awesome.
No, she's the best. And because we traveled everywhere like first class, you know, like we got first class tickets everywhere we went. And I would trade mine in for 2 business and then she would come with me.
That's
and she'd ride on the bus and
amazing,
everyone
dude.
got along with her. And she was
dope.
Every time, like I said, you know, hey, Chris is going to come out, you know, and can she ride on the bus? And they're like, yeah, cool, whatever.
Awesome.
Because she drinks and I don't.
Yeah.
So she would drink and like, dude, it was so funny. I'd be like in the front lounge and her and Slash and Matt would all be drinking and like talking
amazing.
shit. And she's from Jersey. She can hang. She's
hell yeah,
bust balls like with the best of them.
totally.
And
East
it was
Coast.
great, dude. She did all the things like I was supposed to be doing because I
So
was
you lived
sober.
you lived through her vicariously.
Dude, I remember this one time she was there's so many good stories, but there was this one time we played a festival in Amsterdam. It was Slayer.
Yeah.
And I just remember it was Fields of Rock, that festival.
Right.
And dude, she's standing between, I wish I had a camera. She's standing between 2 tour buses, because you know all the tour buses park next to each other in the field. Standing between 2 tour buses, throwing up like at 10 in the morning. And just like, it was the best, dude. And then she goes back in and she's in her bunk and she's like, and then I remember I went and did sound check and I came back from catering with like a muffin. And I opened the little fucking drapes and I'd be like, here's a muffin. She'd be like, oh, thank you. Like she'd just like stay in the bunk sleeping.
Up all night with Slash party and shit.
Totally, dude.
It was a dream, God.
But it was like, you know, that
That's
band was
amazing.
like an episode of Behind the Music for 6 years.
6
You know,
years,
it was
okay.
like crazy.
I mean, when you went to record the second album, so Scott was sober on that album.
Libertard. What's it called? Libertad?
Libertad. He went in and out a lot,
All
you
right.
know, like, so
2007.
like even there was a point when he was first, like before we did the first record, he wanted to get sober, but he didn't want to, he wanted to do like martial arts. And I remember him and Duff went up to like, dude. So what happened was
Got doing karate and shit together.
check this out.
Doing some Taibo.
I'm sorry.
Taibo.
I was never met
Taibo.
him.
That's dope. He's trying. He's
No, check this
I'm not
out.
laughing. I'm laughing like
No,
I know. It just
martial
sounds
arts is,
funny.
like so old school.
Yeah, Billy Blanks was there. No. We went to the mountains with Billy Blanks.
I love that homeboy tried. He just wanted to make it
No,
happen.
so because when when Duff got sober, he had gotten sober through like not like, you know, going to AA or something like that. He just like obsessively rode bikes and got into mountain biking, and then he got really into martial arts and trained with like Benny the Jet and all these dudes. So because Scott had tried all of these more traditional ways of getting sober and nothing stuck, he was like, you know, what'd you do, Duff? And Duff's like, oh, I did this and blah, blah, blah. So Duff's like, all right, I'm going to call this dude Joseph, this fucking Sifu dude. And if you're fucking into it, good. But if you're not, don't bullshit me. Because if I call this dude,
Don't waste your
it's going
time,
to
man.
fucking, this is serious, dude.
Big favor.
So this dude lived in the mountains in Eastern Washington.
Okay.
And Duff was like, all right, we had a meeting with the dude, Joseph, and he's like, he was fucking and he's in the documentary. This
Okay.
part of this was in it. Part of this was in it
tonight.
And he's like, all right, so me, Duff, and Scott stayed at this dude's house for like 2 weeks in the mountains. All we did was fucking train, like yoga, kickboxing, boxing.
Sick.
And it was fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like this guy had this way of pushing you to where you learn things about yourself. Like I remember training with him one-on-one and he was just like, and I had already boxed, you know, with like, anyways, I boxed before. And so like I knew what I was doing, but I remember boxing with this dude and he kind of was like holding up the gloves and he kind of looked at me and he was like, how come you only give 80%? And I was like, what? Damn. And he's like, you only give 80%. When are you going to start giving 100%? I was like, oh. And I remember that.
Wow. And
then he and I started talking. And dude, I remember at one point I'm like fucking crying. You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because when I was 5, you know, it was like, it was really like, it like pulled all my covers, dude. And I remember I had, and even since then, you know, I'll think at times like, why aren't I giving 100%? You know, why am I only, and so I got why, you know, Duff called that guy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so, you know, there was different periods, but then he would stay sober and then he would go out and then he'd come back and then
Scott
he'd
did
stay
good
sober.
doing that stuff for 2 weeks. So he
was great.
He was focused and shit. Yeah,
he was into it, dude.
Yeah.
He was, you know, so to answer your question, I don't remember if he was sober or not at the time when we started with the second record.
Yeah.
Second record.
How many records did the first one sell? Was it a couple million?
4 million.
4 million.
Yeah, 4 million worldwide.
That's fucking crazy, man.
I know, dude.
Yeah,
still to this day, it
just
was
think
like,
about Chris saying, so I just married this guy. You're in this band. You're not getting paid. The rest of the guys live in mansions. Like, what's happening? All of a sudden, boom, you're on Billboard. So it's 4 million copies.
Yeah.
And so what was it like? Was there pressure to do that sophomore album? Like, did you feel the
For
pressure?
hits, for
writing?
I don't think any of us really felt. I didn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I'm just like, this is great.
Yeah.
You know, but.
And those guys come from a different.
Different pedigree.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, all of them, you know. I'm sure Scott did, but I don't think anyone else really, at least not out loud.
Okay.
You know, if they did, it was very, and to be honest, like the second record, because we were doing so well.
Yeah.
And we were just like, and we had written 60 songs for the first record. Wow. Because we had 10 months worth of writing songs.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then even when Scott got in the band, we gave him all of them. And he picked out like 8 and put vocals on them.
Uh-huh.
Dude, I swear to God, we gave him songs. So he did Set Me Free.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me. The next 3 songs that he put vocals on, because he would do them on his own, right? Next 3 songs were Slither, Fall to Pieces, and Big Machine. And I remember being in Seattle with Duff, and we were going snowboarding, and we had this CD.
I love this Duff guy, man.
He's the best, dude.
Awesome.
He's the best.
Amazing,
He's
man.
mad cool.
So me and Duff went snowboarding, and we were listening to this CD with those 3 songs. And these were demos before the record.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, this is gonna slay. You know, like this is something's happening here. And I just remember like really feeling it at that moment, you know, because we were driving in the mountains. There was no like distraction. We were like, fuck, dude, this is fucking rad. And
great songwriting, man. It's
and
so good.
So we had a lot of leftover songs, you know, by the second record. We wrote like 40 more. We wrote like songs just constantly all the time. So we had 40 more songs, and we were going to get Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin was going to do the second record originally. And I remember Rick has this thing. The best thing about Rick is he gives these inspirational talks.
Yeah, man.
Right? So we're with Rick, and I had known Rick because my ex-girlfriend was his assistant when I was in Wasted Youth. And Rick had come to see Wasted Youth at the country club.
Oh, nice.
Because he had done Slayer and he was into like metal. And
that's cool.
He liked the band. And I was working at Tower, and I would make those signs that I would make, you know, with foam core and shit. Yeah. like I would make them for Rick, like because he had just started Deaf American, across the street from Geffen, right up the street from Tower. My girlfriend was his assistant. I'd made like a Danzig one, with the fucking Bullwinkle, they call it, and some other signs. And my buddy Alan Forbes, who worked with me at Tower, was my old girlfriend Shelly. I'm like, oh, you should get, they need art for the Black Crows. And I'm like, you should get Alan to do some shit. And so Alan ended up doing those crows. Like he was the one that did all that art for Rick. And so I'd known Rick since then. And so Rick came, I remember we were at Matt's house and Rick gives these talks, and he's like, listen, you need to think back to when you were like 16 and in high school and first started playing in bands and like that fire you had and that, when you just like, that's all you did was, play and want to be in a band and want to do this thing. And he's like, he goes, this record is your legacy. Like this is going to live on for generations, forever. Your kids, your grandkids, anybody in the world will be able to listen to this record. So you owe it to yourself to make the best record you've ever made. Damn. Focus on it, practice, concentrate, write songs, just make the best record because this is your stamp on history. It's like really, it's heavy, dude.
Totally.
I remember calling Trujillo. Well, it's funny because I called Robert, they were doing Death Magnetic record and they were doing it at the same time. Like Rick was doing both records.
Oh, wow.
And I called Robert and I was like, we're talking about it, and he's like, oh, dude, did you get the speech? And I'm like, yeah, I got the speech. He's like, and I remember Trujillo was like, I'm practicing right now, bro. I'm like, we both had the speech. But then what happened was Rick would come to rehearsal and he would lay on the couch and he would listen and we would play.
White linen?
Yeah. No, he was just, I think back then it was still just a white t-shirt and linen pants. And he would go, okay, all right, go ahead, play something. And then we'd play him a bunch of shit because we record, like live when we were, and he would listen to it and he'd be like, oh, I like that one. Keep working on that. And it's like we constantly, in his opinion, weren't ready.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so eventually there was something about how much he was charging because we felt like we were a new band and he was charging us like the old band rate. And it was like double in price. I think it was like he wanted like $300,000 to do the record or something. And I remember Scott flipped out and he was like, "What? $300,000? Fuck that!" Blah blah. And this is how it happened. He flipped out. He's like, "I'm gonna fucking call Brendan O'Brien. I'll fucking get Brendan O'Brien here next week. Well, fuck Rick Rubin."
Who's that?
Yeah.
Who's that?
That's Brendan O'Brien is the guy who produced all the SCP records. He used to be Rick's assistant and then he ended up doing all of, since STP, even after SCP, he ended up doing like 2 Bruce Springsteen records.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's big. He's done Incubus. He's done all kinds of.
So Scott called him up.
So Scott calls him and Brendan's like, yeah, I'll be there next week, And so Brendan came down and we started doing the record with Brendan.
Damn.
And I will say that in hindsight, I think that Rick was right. I think that we weren't ready. And I think that record isn't as good as the first one because there's some great stuff on there. But I remember feeling like a little bit like stuff was kind of Frankenstein together. Mm-hmm. It was like, oh, why don't you take the verse from that thing, take the chorus from that and stick them together. And, oh, yeah, I think that's good. And it just wasn't as good.
Yeah.
So
I felt that.
Yeah.
How was it received?
Kind of like Derek's reaction just now.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like,
it was meh.
And what was it? Was it
it
like?
didn't help with the album cover either. I was just like, ooh, oh boy. You guys didn't know anything about that?
I can look that up. I have to look that up.
Yo. Okay, the album cover
Go ahead.
happened to be, I guess you guys realized, you can tell the story better than I can.
Dude, I don't even know.
Oh, okay.
You tell.
So
it was controversial back then?
Well, yeah. I don't know how they would even know
I'm going to look it up right now while we're talking.
But the thing was that I guess somebody got the idea from a necklace of a friend of theirs. It was from Chile.
Okay.
And on the necklace was a coin. And it was a coin that this dictator was using when he had a military coup in Chile.
Is it this one?
And it's Pinochet.
I got it.
And it was a coin that was used for like, this is the revolution of, the coup d'etat.
We had no idea.
Right there?
That's it.
Okay.
And they had, of course you would have no idea. And
I didn't have any idea till this moment.
oh my God.
Yeah.
No way.
I swear to God,
Really?
dude. Yeah, I never knew.
So that symbol.
Holy
it was
shit.
I knew I'd heard some stuff about it,
Yeah.
but keep going, dude.
Oh, so that angel with the arm
Yeah.
rising. And
I remember it was from a coin. I remember seeing the coin.
Is the date of the actual coup that happened,
Bro.
the military takeover. So Pinochet, in the eyes of a lot of people,
Not so cool.
He took over like a very popular socialist. Pinochet was put in by the CIA. So it was like and so basically people were flipping like, what the fuck are you using that as your album cover?
Dumb rockers.
It was like, yo, and I think
dude,
I found out in Brazil.
It makes sense that I'm also the guy that said that doesn't sound like a band.
It's crazy. You don't even know that was wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. And,
wow.
And Pinochet tortured a lot of people
Yeah.
during his time. Had people jailed, killed. He was completely put in by the CIA.
Just because Homeboy liked the necklace, they used it. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, he had no idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did that record tank?
Yeah.
Like, didn't sell a million copies?
No.
Wow.
I think we went like gold or something, maybe.
Yeah, and some play like Canada or some other places.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't do great.
So, what was the vibe of the band when that happened? Were people bummed? Did they have expectations?
Obviously you have expectations.
Yeah.
And people were bummed, but that's really when Scott.
Didn't Stone Temple Pilots get back together. Like a reunion?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
So what happened was Scott. I'm trying to think.
Because that came out in 2007.
Yeah, but we just toured for so long that like when bands are like, we toured for 2 years. Like, what? Yeah, you did. And then, but and then I realized like, oh, this is what it means. Because, you'd go for 6 weeks and then you come home for 2 weeks and you go back. And we toured forever. And we didn't really have that long of a break when we did the other record.
Yeah.
It's not, we just maybe like a few months. But
okay.
so it's hard for me to remember the timeline, but I do remember that we started touring, and that's when things started getting like kind of fucked up. Because I remember we were doing that record, and I remember because Brendan had so much experience with Scott because he had done every SCP record.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm going to make him record vocals in the studio, and he got all like kind of indignant. And Scott did some vocals there, but then Scott was like, nah, I'm going to do them over here. Because he had his own studio. He would just do them on his own. But also because he was, doing his thing.
Yeah.
And
in his own time too, yeah.
And then he started getting, and then he kind of slipped back into more old behavior kind of shit. And then it kind of stayed that way for a lot of the second record cycle.
Gotcha.
So what happened in the end was that we had managers, and then we left that manager because we didn't like that manager, and then then we, the management became segregated. And like
wouldn't each member have their own management from Guns N' Roses? Like Slash probably has this dude.
No, it wasn't like that.
Okay,
but it was like that for like lawyers and accountants and stuff like that. But we all had these two managers, but they had like a parent company, and we weren't into the parent company. So then we moved to Irving Azoff was the parent company, and then these two were under him. But what happened was we wanted to leave one of the managers, and so the band went with a different management, and then Scott stayed with the other manager.
Gotcha.
Because we felt like she was a little enabling.
Got you.
So
that
got kind of sticky, and then she would say like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then she wouldn't. And then Scott would be all upset. Like, how come I got to pay for this? And it was a lot of like, it just started to slowly kind of come apart. And, we would argue and like, about money, and he started kind of separating himself a lot from the band. Like he already had his own bus, like we had two buses every tour.
Damn.
We had the band bus and he had his bus.
Wow.
And then he would stay at like separate hotels sometimes, and he had an assistant, and it got to a point where the band would go to the venue, and we'd be late. It was like a mini version of Guns N' Roses.
Right.
When they broke up. It was like we would go to a venue, we would wait, we would have the tour manager calling the assistant saying like, "Where's Scott? Where is he?" The assistant be like, "Oh, he's in the shower," and it's like, "Well, he's getting dressed." And then we were and then it would be, we were supposed to go on at 10. It'd be like 10:40, and you'd hear booing. You'd be sitting in the dressing room.
It gives me anxiety thinking about it.
Dude, it was gnarly. And then he would show up late. He would be all dressed with the sunglasses on, not say anything to anyone, because it was like, all right, let's go.
Right, yeah.
It's like the production guy would run up to him, put his in-ears in, tape the fucking thing on his back, and we just go, like, go, get out there. So it's like he never would, at that point, he would never apologize. He would just like, it's like he would, like we weren't even there almost.
Wow. But he killed it every night?
No.
Okay.
He didn't. He started like, he just wasn't singing good. Some nights he was great. Some nights he wasn't. Some nights, I remember once we were on tour with Alice in Chains, and he was like nodding off in the middle of, we played Patience, and we were all sitting down.
Oh, wow.
And like we were all sitting down, and I remember looking at there was like a Jumbotron thing, and I remember looking up, dude, and just seeing him like totally nodding out, like in the middle of.
Would he kill those songs though? Usually,
he was great, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, he's old.
Man.
He was. No. I listened to the old Velvet Revolver record a couple weeks ago, dude, because I hadn't listened to him forever, right. And I was like, his vocals are so good, so dude. Good. His harmonies, everything.
He's super talented, man. Like a true, like
he was so good.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Damn.
Yeah, he was just like, like he would complain about the sound guys would complain because he wasn't like pushing enough air.
Yeah.
Because he had asthma and he would smoke.
Damn. Okay.
At a certain point, he just wasn't pushing enough air, so they would have to turn the microphone up really loud, and some of us were on in-ears.
Ooh.
So there'd be a lot of noise in our ears because we'd have vocals in there, and we'd complain, and then it was just like, and then he just started getting like kind of nuts. Like it was sad. Like there's this one show, dude. There was this one show, and it's funny now, but he was like, I remember, so Matt, was playing drums, and he had this drum tech, this guy, and the guy was sitting next to him. And because Matt was on in-ears, Matt would lean over and tell the drum tech, like, "Hey, dude, tell him I need more snare." And he was playing. And he would lean over to the guy, and tell him, like, something in his ear. And the drum tech would talk in a microphone that he had that went to the monitor guy.
Right.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Hey, Matt needs more drums in his river." And Scott was so kind of fucked up at the time that he was facing the drums, and he saw the kid talking into a microphone, and he thought that the kid was singing along with him to make him sound bad to the audience, and he thought that kid was mocking him and that everyone in the audience was hearing it.
Oh my God, dude.
And I remember in the middle of the set, dude, during a song, he was like over at the drum riser, pointing to the kid, like mouthing, like, "What fucking you doing? What are you doing?" Blah blah. And Matt's playing, and Matt's like waving his stick at Weiland, like, "Get out there, go fucking turn around, like go sing." And so Matt and Weiland and the kid are all like kind of fighting, and the kid was new.
Oh, my
and so
God,
he's just
dude.
like, I'm just, can't explain himself, dude, because we're in the middle of a song.
Holy
shit. We went off stage, or Scott left. We were still supposed to play like 2 more songs. Scott leaves. We all go to the side of the stage, and him and Matt get in a fist fight because they start arguing. And they start like one of them tries to punch the other, and then we're like standing there like breaking it up, and the tour manager's there, and he's like, whoa. And then Scott goes back out on stage. I remember we were in Glasgow, and or maybe it was Dublin, and he goes, you've witnessed history. Like, this is the last show of Velvet Revolver.
Oh, man.
And he basically said that like on stage. And that tour in Europe was when the band ended. And that was like one of the
last.
Damn.
Wow, man.
Yeah, it was like, this is bad.
Yeah.
And then it just got, and then the four of us were on one bus, and we would talk about it, and we're like, dude, what are we going to do? Like, we got to.
Oh, man.
And then we had heard that the other manager was also talking to STP about them reuniting.
Here we go.
Okay.
So then we were like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, it's cool. Cause then we confronted him, and he was like, oh, it's cool. I'll be in like two bands, it's like Maynard in Tool and Perfect Circle. And we were like, no, dude, you can barely show up for this band.
Right.
How are you going to show up for two? And
Yeah.
so
wow, man.
And then we fired him. We fired him in Amsterdam.
That's it.
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we looked for another singer for a year.
Anybody we wouldn't know that tried out?
There was this guy. He sings in this band Big Wreck.
Okay.
From Canada. He's really good. Ian Thornley. We tried out Royston from Space Hog.
Wow.
He was rad.
Space Hog,
I
yeah.
remember them too.
I love that band.
Yeah.
And then we were talking to Lenny Kravitz at one point.
Wow.
But I don't think it was weird because there was some talk, but we never like met with them.
Yeah,
but then he was like, I don't know. It was
That'd be kind of sick.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that.
And then at one point we hired Frankie Perez, this dude who's a friend of mine from Vegas. We had heard him. We gave him demos.
Mm-hmm.
We give everyone demos.
Yeah.
We gave him demos. We heard him sing. We were like, dude, this guy's fucking
The demos,
shit.
would they be new songs or?
New songs.
Okay.
Wow.
Cool.
So we'd recorded new songs. We had 5 like blank songs,
Yeah.
and we would send them out, and people would put vocals, which is what we did for the first, when we got Scott.
That's
Right.
pretty cool.
And he put vocals on like 5 songs, and they were killer. And we were like, oh, this is some unknown guy from Vegas.
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, maybe this is the guy.
Uh-huh.
We brought him to LA. He tried out. He sang the old stuff and the new stuff like perfect.
Wow.
We were like, he's cool. We're like, you're the guy. You're in the band. So he moves down to LA, and then we started making more demos and stuff. And then it progressively got like not as good. You know what I mean? Like the lyrics were a little corny, a little bit.
Yeah.
But then there was this one time where he worked with Matt, and Matt's really like at the time was very like perfectionist about his studio and his and he just kind of wore Frankie down. And Frankie was like new, and he wanted the gig, and he couldn't really talk back to him, and I remember like he said something to him kind of like my Danzig comment that rubbed Matt the wrong way, and Matt's like, blah blah blah, and then it just kind of, and at the same time Slash was doing his solo record, but he was kind of cryptic about it, and he wasn't really telling anyone, and so it just didn't work out. And Frankie and I went on to do a bunch of shit after that, but it just didn't happen. And then Frankie was out of the band, and then we did a bunch of songs with Corey Taylor from Slipknot, and that didn't work out. But we have there's 9 songs with Corey.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Did it would never come out?
when the NFT thing first started, I was like, dude, we should put out a fucking NFT.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and I think GNR was doing some stuff, so they were like, well, we can't do it right now. And there was so much, NFTs were such like a buzz thing at the time, like a year and a half ago or whatever.
Totally.
So some of the managers, some of the cooler heads were like, well, let's just wait and let's see.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Someday it may come out. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah. And then did you start doing soundtracks after that? Like the Sons of Anarchy thing. So
right after that, I had my first kid a month after we fired Weiland.
Wow.
Great.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, my son was super colicky.
You had money. Your money saved up. You're smart.
I saved all my money.
Okay, great.
Like, because I was afraid, like this thing could end tomorrow.
You've been through it. Yeah.
And I saved all my money, and I didn't piss away any of it.
Yeah, you're
really.
smart. Yeah.
And so I had money, and we were looking for a singer, and then my kid was born. He was super colicky, which for those of you who don't know, it means just like basically irritable and crying all the time.
Yeah.
And you're not really sure why. So I was like, what am I going to do? Like, either I play in another band and I'm like a side guy, and the only time I'll make money is when I'm gone. And if I leave my wife with this kid, she'll go nuts.
Yeah.
And, or I got to try and figure something else out. Like, maybe I'll be a producer or a composer or something like that. So I had a couple friends, and I just asked them, like, and they were band guys that made the transition, one to producer, Josh Abraham, who produced our first record.
Yeah.
And one was my buddy John, who was a composer. And I just asked them, like, what'd you do? And the one thing that they both said was, you just got to commit. You got to, if you want to do this other thing, you have to stop having one foot in one thing and one foot in the other. And I was like, all right, cool. And then around the same time, I was at Johnny Rockets with my friend Bob and Scott from Weezer and Brian Ray from Paul McCartney's band. And we would all hang out, and we all went to Johnny Rockets, and we were eating and bullshitting. And Bob was like, dude, I just got this composer job for this show called Sons of Anarchy. And we're like,
shit.
And we were like rolling our eyes like, Sons of Anarchy? That sounds stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It sounded so bad.
It does.
And we were like, and he's like, no, I think it's going to be cool. It's going to be like The Sopranos meets the Hells Angels. Like,
yeah.
And he was like, do you have any ideas? If you guys have any ideas for music, because he was also the music supervisor as well as a composer. So I'm like, oh, you should get like Monster Magnet and Clutch and Crowbar. And like, I started throwing out all these bands that I thought would be cool. And he was like, well, if you want to write something, you should come by, because he had a studio in his apartment. And I was like, okay. But I'll tell you, another thing that was, for me, that was really a big deal was I typically say no out of fear. Like if someone says, hey, you want to write a song? I'm like, nope, because I'm afraid, like, they're going to find me out. They're going to find out I'm not as good as, they think I am. They're going to find out I'm a fraud, or all these things that your head tells you, and I had learned to take contrary action and say yes.
Awesome.
And that was a big turning point for me, because I said yes, even though I was afraid. And I just said yes. And I showed up, and I had written that riff from Sons, the theme song. And I brought it over, and I'm like, dude, I have this riff, and it was that.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, that's cool. And then we wrote the whole song that day. Like,
wow.
Because it's not even a song, it's a 30-second song.
Yeah.
And we wrote it, and we wrote the vocals together, and he sang on the demo, and we wrote everything. And dude, that whole thing was just like Velvet Revolver. Like, we wrote that song. Kurt Sutter, who created the show, loved the song. Then we couldn't find a singer for it. I asked the guy from Fuel. I asked, there's a demo with him on there. I asked Royston from Space Hog to sing on it. I asked Shooter Jennings to sing on it. And all these people, and they didn't like anyone. And finally we got this guy, Curtis, who sang on it, who's great. And everyone loved it, except Fox was like, let's try and get, all they wanted was someone else. They're like, it was almost like, well, we have this song, but let's try and get a bigger name. And it was funny because Bob would get these emails, and he would send them to me, and the people at FX were like, can you get Slash and Lemmy to do a song maybe? They weren't asking me, they were asking Bob. And then Bob would send me this email, and they're like, what if we got the Reunited STP to do the theme song? Like, all these people, and we were just waiting, dude, for months. We didn't know we had it until the week of the premiere. They had a premiere of the first episode at Paramount, and we all went to the screening, and we're sitting in this theater, and we saw the opening credits with our song on it. And that's when we knew, like,
That's amazing.
That's when we knew we were in the band. You know, like,
it happened to him before,
dude.
bro.
It was like we were waiting forever, and then it was the same story. Like, then we got nominated for an Emmy, and
Dude.
you know, I was like, I called my agent at CAA, and I was like, I think I'm gonna to be a composer. I just got nominated for an Emmy. I want to. How can I get more jobs? And then
That's fucking awesome, dude.
and that was it, dude. And then that guy Bob was a music supervisor on this ABC show called Detroit 187, this cop show. And he's like, me and my buddy, he's like, you know, do you guys want to do the music or try and get the job? And so we got the job doing that. And then that was where I learned like to score, you know, like actually do underscore instead of just like a theme song.
Were you in Couples Retreat in 4 Christmases?
Well, I did because so I shared a studio with my buddy John.
Yeah.
And we had all known Vince Vaughn and Peter Billingsley, and those were all Vince's. There was like a whole crew of people, you know, like, because we met him right before Swingers came out. He had just moved here from Chicago. We had mutual friends, this guy, Sean Rosigliano, and we all kind of hung out together. So by that time, John was doing a lot of music for his stuff, for Vince's movies and stuff that he was producing. And because I was in the studio next door, I would go and like play on shit, you know, or like, but I didn't fully like work on those movies, work on them. I would just like play shit on them. You know, I'd go into the next room.
Still get your name out there though. It's awesome. Wow.
Were you ever into theme songs, like TV theme songs and stuff like that?
Was I into them?
Yeah.
Oh, of course, dude. I grew up during the era of fucking Sanford and Son and Quincy Jones doing.
I mean, I remember like, God, there were so many good theme songs to TV shows.
Oh, dude.
Back then.
We listen to them sometimes. I remember with you, like.
And I can name them all.
The
man.
Brady
Taxi?
Bunch.
Like the really like
Brady Bunch.
rare ones. It's just like, yo, what is? Oh, I know it.
Yeah,
Different
everything.
Strokes. Woo,
them all,
some great
man.
ones.
Cheers.
Give me a break. You know, like
They were so
all
important too.
Give me a break. You could like, you could remember all of them.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
you know?
they were brilliant. I was like, man.
Yeah.
Three's Company.
Yeah,
Oh,
come and knock on my door. And that was the thing that I loved. When I did that first theme song, I was like, wait a minute. I don't have to figure out like what to add in the second verse that's different from the first verse.
Right.
And do I do a double chorus? And now I got to do a bridge. And now I got to do a double chorus out. And I got to add some new shit. And, you know, it was just like 30 seconds.
Yep.
Just all the goods in 30 seconds,
It's just
you
an
know?
instrumental even. It's even easier.
So,
you still doing that stuff?
yeah.
Wow, it's awesome.
Yeah, and then I ended up doing it with, because I had known Peter and Vince and those guys, and they started a production company, and that's how I ended up doing, what was it called? Sullivan and Son.
Sullivan and Son, okay.
Which was like Cheers 2.0, basically.
Yeah.
And that was, I did that with my buddy Vince, and, you know, they were like, we want like, at first they wanted something like Dropkick Murphy. They're like, we want like Irish rock, you know, like the Pogues. And I was like, oh, it's killer.
Yeah.
And then I did some stuff like that. And they're like, I think then they got notes back that like, we didn't want it to sound too specific because it is about a bar. And there's like, the theme is like, there's a half Asian, half Italian couple that runs this bar, and their son is, you know, a mixed race, and there's all different characters in the bar, and we don't want it to feel exclusive.
Right.
We want it to feel like it's everybody's bar. So then we rewrote the theme song, and it still had like a folky kind of vibe, but it wasn't, you know, like Irish specific.
Right.
Where
So-
everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
Damn, that shit's so good.
But it was fun, man. And I
Yeah.
was like, what if we wrote it like we should just sing some melody, but you want it to feel like, oh, I know that song.
Yeah.
And so I just came up with this melody that was like na 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 na, and then we like, it was me and my buddy Vince, and we like quadruple tracked ourselves, and we just tried to sound like I wanted it to sound like a bunch of drunk people in a bar singing along with this thing, and I should know that song.
Awesome.
You know, so we're like, and it's all like quadruple jack, but did all these different voices, like I was a drunk, you know, chick or a drunk, you know, fat guy or whatever.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
and then what about music now? Any music you're working on?
Well, through the last thing is like, I want to say like 4 years ago, I met this dad at school who worked for the NFL Network. This guy, Bill McCullough. And I ended up doing a theme song for Thursday Night Football with him.
Yes. Oh, shit, that's amazing, dude.
Yeah. And then he was like, I know this guy, Jose, and they used to do all the 24/7 sports stuff and HBO boxing.
Okay, yeah.
And he's like, I use this composer all the time. His name's Jose. He lives in the Valley. He's really cool. You should meet him. There was a barbecue. Jose and I met. We got along. He was doing this documentary for Amazon called The Last Narc, which is the true story about Kiki Camarena, the DEA agent that got kidnapped. It's Narcos Mexico.
Have you seen it yet?
No, I saw the trailer.
Did you see Narcos Mexico?
Yes.
Great. It's that real story. It's a docu series about what really happened. Kiki Camarena, Michael Peña's character, like that whole thing. And it's with what's gnarly about it is there's these, I won't go into it, but it's gnarly because it's like there's guys there that kind of got turned into bad guys that were good guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They were cops in Colombia.
Yeah.
No, they were like good guys. Like, you know, if you were like, I want to be a cop and you're a cop, and then all of a sudden your boss is like, go deliver this thing to this guy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've delivered drugs unknowingly and you're on the other team now.
Gotcha.
And you can't ever do anything different because you've seen the guys, you've made connections.
Yeah.
And now those guys are like, now you're on our side.
Yeah.
And you're like,
or you're dead.
Yeah, or you're dead or your family's dead.
Okay.
And so there was those guys were interviewed in this thing. Like guys that were in the room when he was being tortured.
Oh, wow.
One guy that was involved in the kidnapping, you know, like and they're like regretful. They're not, you know, they're telling these stories. It's gnarly.
Oh,
dude.
wow.
It's so gnarly.
And that's out now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm down to watch that for sure.
So Jose and I worked on that and we started this company called Monkey Mind Music Group and we just started composing together. And then when I ended up doing F is for Family, which is Bill Burr's show on Netflix.
Yeah.
Because of that Peter B. and Vince Vaughn. It's their company that produced it.
It's awesome, man.
So I did that for 5 years. Bill and I became friends. And then, so Monkey Mind does, you know, we've just done a bunch of TV. We did some stuff for Gordon Ramsay's Uncharted, and we did this.
When you write these songs, like say NFL and stuff, do they buy the song from you?
Good question.
Like, is it like one time, like,
yeah.
Or thanks for that, or are you getting residuals?
It's all
time it's played.
Typically, when you do things for TV and film, it's what they call a work for hire, which means they own the publishing.
Right. They own the publishing.
They own the publishing. Typically, it's different if you write a song. Like if you're writing a song for a scene, they might not own the publishing.
Right.
If they're licensing it.
Right.
But if you're scoring a movie,
right,
they own the publishing because they need to be able to control that asset.
Gotcha.
You know, you can't say if they want to use your music for something else or a commercial or something, you know, a Trump commercial, and let's say you're not into Trump and you're like, wait, I don't want my song. If you don't have the power to say anything because you're not the publisher, but you get all the writer share. So every time, you know, like I still get checks for, you know, Sons of Anarchy,
I'm sure,
writer share because they own the publishing, but I got a percentage of the writers. Okay. And so you get writer share, so you get all the back end. Once in a while, like when we did Gordon Ramsay's Uncharted, we did the theme song and we took a lower fee, but we kept all the publishing on the theme song. Great. So you can, you know, there's different ways to slice it.
I see.
But typically it's a work for hire.
Yeah. Like, there you go.
Yeah.
That's such a cool world to be in too, from just like songwriting with a band and then kind of writing your own song and having control.
I was gonna ask if you
five
could
members
help us write a ballad. Guitarist and I have been dreaming
Sepultura
about
won a
ballad. Yeah, dude.
We want one ballad in our career.
Yes.
At least one.
Because I know he's got a really good singing voice besides what he does in Sepultura. That's singing as well, but his voice is so deep, which I think you should be getting to voiceover. We talk about all the time. He's trying to do that. Is it also like a more like crooning?
Yeah, like a
crooner.
Yeah, crooner. Yeah.
A crony.
A crony.
Or like his voice, like a more singy, like a. So Sepultura would be down to have a ballad.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's do it, dude.
Wow.
I'm gonna say yes.
Yes. You've heard it here.
Yeah.
No, I think
dude, why don't you do you don't do voiceovers?
He's trying to get into that world, man.
Yeah, I'm working on my reel.
He's working on it now.
Yeah.
So
he's got such a cool voice.
I still need to take a few lessons.
I'm trying to think how I could help you already.
Once I get that reel, it's going to be much more, accessible for people. Like, what is it? So I can just.
Well, what happened, dude, was so.
Thank you.
Also, besides Monkey Mind, and there's like a website if you just Google Monkey Mind Music Group. But also because I became friends with Bill Burr, I had this idea for a TV show, an animated show. And we wrote a script together. So, and another moment, where it's like, we wrote this script over the pandemic, and it's like, so I literally have this script that says, written by Bill Burr and Dave Kushner, and I was like, wow. and I had to like print it out. It's so funny, like I had a PDF, I had it on my computer, and I'm like, I'm gonna print this out. And I just keep it on my desk, like in my studio, just so I can like look at it and be like, oh, this is fucking cool.
It's amazing, dude.
So he's doing a movie right now, and then we're going to start pitching it again to, and if we do that, dude, dude.
We talk about this all the time.
Yeah, that's a perfect voice.
Animator. I want to do, have a character.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
But it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Well, this has been awesome, your story. A couple of questions.
Yes.
You seem like a positive person. You consider yourself an optimist or pessimist?
Oh, definitely. Wait, what was the question?
Optimist or pessimist? like a positive person.
No, because you said positive and pessimist. I was going to say positive, but I'm very positive.
Yeah.
My glass is always half full.
Yeah, you seem like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Feldy, dude. I listen to your thing with Feldy.
Yeah.
It's like we are kind of like-minded in that way. I don't say I love my life all the time, but I have said it, and I know that.
Oh, he says it every day.
Yeah.
And
I meditate, and at the beginning, someone told me once, like, think of 5 things you're grateful for at the beginning of your meditation every day, and I don't do it every day, but every time I meditate, which is, 4 days a week,
daily rituals.
I think of 5 things that I'm grateful for.
That's cool.
And then, try and look for, my, whatever you believe in, God, higher power, whatever it is, you try and look for how that is connected to what you're grateful for.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I remember someone said, all the best things in my life have happened by coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at coincidence being, God's way of remaining anonymous, someone said to me once, and all these little sayings that I believe that, there is something up there looking out for me. And when if I look at my life and I look at like how I met Duff and how I ended up in Velvet Revolver and how I met my wife, how I ended up, being a composer, like I didn't manipulate any of those things. I didn't try and be like, oh, if I do this and I do that and then I do that, then this is going to happen. It happened, and, I didn't just sit in my room. I took action, but
you worked for it. Yeah. You believed in yourself.
I didn't control the outcome.
Stepped outside the box.
Yeah.
Yeah. And took chances.
So I believe that, so I definitely, am always looking to, I have my days, but in general, my life is fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
And all of it, being here, it's like, this is cool. This is my life. Like I get to just fucking bullshit with you guys for, and I met you through my wife, and then, we've hung out and done some things and ate some good food, and, I get free water, and I get, you know what I mean? Like that stuff I appreciate, it doesn't go like every time I go out to the refrigerator, I'm like telling my son, like, don't drink all my waters, or I get all pissed. Dude, the worst is when I find like when you used to go to parties, like when I was drinking, I was the guy that would like check around for the half drink beers and like drink, and once in a while you get a cigarette butt. Yeah, you're just like, But dude, when I go in my house and I have 2 kids and they're both teenagers, and I find a Liquid Death that's half drunk, just sitting on the counter, too. I'm like, I'm like, when? Don't drink the water if you're not gonna drink it. I'll put it back in the refrigerator. Don't tell. But still, dude, I'm like,
drives me crazy on our bus now.
Yeah.
Just in general, if anybody, I'm like, what is wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
Max had 6 friends here last night going through like a bunch of, I gave him some gear I had, but then there's all these waters around the house and I'm saving them or I'm giving it to my dog. Like, I can't, it makes me crazy, dude.
Dude, that happened with my son. Same thing, dude. He had some people over. There was like 6 kids and pizza. And I look, because all the liquid death stuff's in the outside refrigerator. And I look at this, like we have this outdoor bar thing. And I look and I just see all these cans all over the counter. And I'm like,
makes you crazy.
Dude, I knew as soon as I check them, most of them are full.
And then what do you do with it? It's like, I
know.
that
This is
fucking kills me, dude.
Do you have any major regrets in your life?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you seem like a person that does.
Yeah, I really don't.
Yeah.
I regret, sometimes I regret not. I think lately in the last few years, I regret not doing stuff sooner. Like I joined a softball team, like I met this dude, Mike Bertolino, who runs Bill's company, All Things Comedy.
Yeah.
And we went to Vegas and we went to like a Raiders game and it was great. Me, him, and Bill, like they had this great birthday. It was my birthday.
nice.
We went to Roy Choi's restaurant this restaurant called Best Friend. It was like the best weekend ever.
Yeah.
And Mike had talked about playing softball, and I was like, dude, I want to play softball.
Yeah.
Because I used to play sports a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I joined a softball team. And so my only regret is like not doing it sooner.
Yeah.
Right.
I got an electric bike, and I ride it. And I was
what
like,
kind of bike you got? What brand do you know?
a Venton.
Yeah,
You heard that one?
Yeah, I've heard it.
He's an electric bike guy too. Yeah, he loves
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I ride every day as much as possible.
That's his main thing
killer.
he gets around in. Yeah.
I got it too because I didn't have a car. My lease was up, and I sold my car.
right.
And this was just like in January or something. And we live on a hill.
Yes.
So
I do too.
it's like
kind of a hill.
I want to ride my bike, but I don't want to ride up the hill.
Yep.
So I got an electric
He's got a
bike.
big ass hill too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I still have to pedal. I still have
yeah,
to work
me
at
too.
it because the motor's only, I think it's only 250 watts or something. It's kind of
I'm a little bit heavier than you, so.
Little bit. We're kind of the same size.
So it's a good workout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any like major inspirations in your life, whether it be a musician or author or actor, anything? Anybody that really helped inspire your life?
Dude, I tell you who it's been lately is John Madden,
Okay.
the coach for the Raiders.
Oh wow.
Because when I was growing up, I was a huge Raiders fan. And like that was my team. Like I can name every person on the 76 Raiders.
That's amazing,
like
man.
this Ken Stabler, Fred Biletnikoff, Dave Casper, Otis Sistrunk, like Ray Guy, everyone.
Lyle Alzado
Lyle Alzado.
Was he on that team?
Yeah.
Damn.
Wow.
He was on the Raiders before he went to the Broncos.
Yeah.
But John Matuzak. Like I know
He
like
knows them all.
dude. And Mark Van Egan. And so
Just finish them all. Name the rest. Let's go.
dude, I watched this it's funny, like the way I live my life, a lot of times I imagine like if I like when I yell at my kid or something, and I do something I regret in hindsight, and then I think of things like if I was watching a movie and I was in it, and my behavior, I'd be like, that guy's a fucking asshole, and so that's kind of that's like my moral compass.
Gotcha.
Or, when I do something good, I'd be like, oh, that guy's he's a good guy,
Yeah.
And so when I watched this thing on God, what's his name? John Madden.
Yeah.
It's this great ESPN doc on Madden, and just the way he was, and he was so positive, and everyone loved him, and everyone wanted to be around him. And it's like sometimes I think about that, or like my grandfather, like what would Madden do? Because I deal with my kids and they're teenagers, and my son, you have a son. It's like you butt heads and stuff, and
for sure.
And sometimes when I'm pissed, like lately, I've been thinking like, oh, what would Madden do? And Madden like just seems like he doesn't focus on, why are you acting like that? You need to stop acting like that. You need to do this. You need to blah, blah, blah. He just like stay positive and just be like, you know what? You want to be an asshole? I'm going to be positive, instead of reacting. And like that book, The 4 Agreements, like, don't take everything personal. Don't, and I do, so I have to like combat it with being conscious of, with meditation and all the other shit I do, to try and not take it. Cause I'll take everything personal.
Well, if you submit something, you don't get picked for it.
No, it's more like my kids, my kid acts a certain way to me. I take it personal. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, blah, blah, blah. And then I get all, well, what are you doing? And I start yelling or whatever. And it's like, oh, he's just being like that because he's just being like that right now. And he'll be different later. And
totally.
He's, and not to just, and to just be able to like go, okay, well, that's cool. What would Madden do?
I love that.
He'd just be like, oh, So...
So he's your dude. He's your go-to,
dude, man. He is. Like, I think about him a lot.
That's awesome.
And right after that special aired, he died.
Oh, wow.
So, and it was, but it's really good. I've seen it like 3 times.
I need to check that out and check out the also Velvet Revolver doc too. Where is that doc at?
The Velvet Revolver one?
Yeah.
I think you got to go on YouTube, but it was a VH1 thing. It's called The Rise of Velvet Revolver.
I'm so down to watch that tonight.
Yeah.
I learned so much, Sam. Thank you for coming and sharing your story. And it's awesome. We've been talking about doing this for a little while now, and I'm really happy it happened.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I'm glad Derek could be here, too.
Yeah, that was killer.
Me, too.
You can hear Derek's voice.
Dude, I got a new job writing a Sepultura song.
Yeah, a new ballad, man. That's fucking awesome. That's definitely going to happen for sure. Since you are a fan, that's awesome.
I love that,
He's been talking about a ballad forever, too, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What, but like with leads and shit, too? Or just like
Of course.
Yeah, like a mid-temp? I don't know, like how the beat would be. Like
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah. So maybe we'll premiere it on this podcast.
Yeah, dude. Can you imagine? That'd be pretty awesome.
Dude, thank you so much for being
talk
there.
to some other members of the band as well.
Yeah.
What you're
That's like me, dude. That's like me.
The rest of the band know this. Do you want to do a ballad? This is just
no. I mean, Andreas would definitely agree. Like, we need to have one.
Dude, that's
He's
like
the man for the job.
That's like me. Every time I'm like, I did it today. Someone wanted to make a plan. I was like, all right, cool. Let me talk to my wife. Yeah.
I do the same shit.
Oh yeah, of course, dude. When you're married, it's like, I was gonna go get an oil change for her car, and then I'm like, I'm making an appointment. I'm on the phone this morning after taking my kids, and I'm like, oh wait, hold on, I better talk to her. She might have a plan or something.
Yeah,
so true,
smart,
dude.
Smart.
Boss lady, always run it by my wife. Everything, dude.
Always, dude.
It's your partner. Yeah, you got to run it by him.
Very lucky.
You'd want the same. You'd want the exact same.
No, I know. How long have you been married for now? Together for.
We've been together 20 years.
Wow. It's amazing,
yeah. Almost like 18 and a half. We'll be 19 in December.
You guys have a great energy, chemistry. It's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And you, Toby?
It's pretty cool.
Married 26 years next week.
Damn,
really?
Son.
Yeah.
Wow, dude. That's huge.
I'm very lucky,
Congrats,
man.
you guys.
God, I'm so lucky, man.
You guys are extremely
Especially doing what we do and play music and travel and be big kids and not grown-ups and go play music with our friends. And yeah, we're really lucky, man.
Kids and all that stuff.
Holding the shit down, man.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's pretty cool.
All right, guys.
awesome.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks
for
having me.
That was amazing. 2 hours and 24 minutes.
Oh, shit.
That was great. No, it was fucking great.
What time is it, like midnight?
You're a great talker. I always ask my guests if they have any regrets. I personally don't have any regrets. Even when it comes to my tattoos. I have the silliest tattoos. Even my ET on my leg, it's still a childhood memory for me, and I love it. I've had tattoos on top of tattoos strictly because I wanted more tattoos. I started getting tattoos when I was 18. I'm 52 now, and I can't stop. I've had laser treatment before on something on my arm. It's 4 tattoos on top of each other. And that experience at that place was pretty fast. It was pretty cold. It was in and out, swipe the credit card. Don't really tell me much. Didn't give me much details or anything was going to happen. So I never went back. So as of most recently, I'm so lucky enough to have had 2 sessions at Removery Tattoo Removal. My tattoo on my arm that looks like a big black blob is now super light. I've had 2 sessions. I have a long road ahead of me. None of this stuff happens overnight. You cannot take a tattoo up in one sitting. You have to be patient. And it's painful. They ice you up. It's super fast. To me, it felt like a bunch of rubber bands. But what's more painful than that is looking at something on your body that you think you're stuck with for the rest of your life. That sucks. But now for me, I'm really happy I started this journey. I'm slowly going to get this tattoo removed. I never thought in a million years I have any kind of real estate on my arm. I don't even know what I want, but it's exciting. I'm so honored to announce that One Life, One Chance podcast is now with Removery. I have a code. Use TobyH20 and get $100 off your first session. Call 866-934-4570 or go to removery.com. One of the most experienced tattoo removal companies in the world. Over 600,000 removal treatments done. 100 locations. U.S., Canada, and Australia. State-of-the-art peak-away laser technology. Cryotechnology to reduce any discomfort. This is so exciting for me because all I do in these podcasts is talk about tattoos. From day one, if you've been listening to this podcast, talk about tattoos, talk about getting removed, talk about getting covered up. So this is such a perfect fit for me. Once again, go to removery.com or call 866-934-4570. Use my code TobyH20 and get $100 off. These guys are located everywhere. Try it out. Yo, people always ask me what kind of frames I'm rocking. I've been rocking Caddis for a couple years. They make amazing progressive readers, which I wear. Also, they make sunglass readers, anti-glare, anti-smudge coating, anti-scratch, and anti-aging. That's why I look mad young when I wear them. I'm just kidding. But they make amazing frames. Caddis, so stoked to have you guys part of the podcast. You can go to caddislife.com/Toby10 and get $10 off your first purchase. Stoked. Thank you, Caddis. Welcome to the fam. Yo, Liquid Death. Thank you so much for hydrating all my guests, taking care of me and my family and my friends. Love your water, love your brand, love what you stand for, love what you give back to the community. If you want to learn more about Liquid Death and how it started, listen to episode 115 with the co-founder, owner, and creator of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario. Just a punk rock skateboarding kid from Delaware with a dream. It's an incredible story, incredible journey. They have now blessed me with my own code. So if you go liquiddeath.com/Toby, you get free shipping on any items you order from liquiddeath.com. Thank you so much, Liquid Death. Death to plastic, murder your thirst. Stay hydrated. You know H2O saves lives.